Chapter 1087. The next night, Lu Chen headed to the Cloud Celestial Mountain. Although the Zhongxiangu Celestial Lord had made things difficult for Lu Chen before, Lu Chen still attended the farewell banquet on account of his heroic performance during the Netherworld invasion. However, he wasn't familiar with these Sengoku immortal envoys, and he didn't have much to talk about with Celestial Lord Shenliang. He drank a few cups of wine and exchanged some pleasantries before returning to his room to rest. Once he woke up, Lu Chen followed Mabe to the teleportation array and headed to the purple gold mainland. A familiar feeling of dizziness came over him, and Lu Chen found himself in a public square. There were people everywhere, at least tens of thousands of people. A woman in purple walked over. This woman was human, and her features were picturesque. Her long hair flowed elegantly, and her eyes were lively. Even though many of the guides in the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace were extremely attractive, this woman was still the most eye-catching one. Many people around her secretly looked over. She was actually a great beauty. The woman seemed to take another look at Lu Chen before her gaze landed on his badge. "You're from the Zhongxiangu, right? I'm from the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. Follow me." Lu Chen followed her obediently. "Beauty, you're from the human race? Fellow countrymen?" The woman replied unhappily. "Just follow me." Were all the people from the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace so fierce? Lu Chen didn't ask any more questions. There was an empty area in front of them, and Lu Chen saw many people entering under the guidance of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace's staff. It seemed to be some array that sealed their abilities. Nameless. The woman lowered her head and checked the information on the registration form. 1-star Emperor Xiao? The woman looked up at Lu Chen in surprise. Lu Chen nodded, indicating that the information was correct. The woman sneered unabashedly. "Well, although the prodigy competition doesn't look at the level, Zhongxiangu is the first to send 1-star Emperor Xiao here. It seems that they don't want any ranking." Lu Chen didn't say anything. He had encountered this kind of thing too many times. "Alright, let me explain the rules to you. At the start, your 4-dimensional attributes will be reduced to 100 points. Large amounts of immortal pills will be sold all over the Golden Continent. However, these immortal pills are all fake. The principle is to remove the seal according to the amount of immortal pills. So, don't expect to really increase your attributes by eating immortal pills." Lu Chen nodded. "Got it? I don't think that's possible." The woman couldn't help but laugh, but she quickly put on a straight face. "Don't change the topic. The skills that we've collected are temporary skills. We've made some adjustments to the spiritual energy flow in the purple gold continent. The skills here are released according to the spiritual energy flow that we've planned. They can only be used in the purple gold continent. We will also collect your equipment and battle pets." "Oh." Lu Chen didn't have any objections. "Also, if the sealing heaven formation doesn't completely seal some of your abilities, you can't use them in the competition. Once discovered, you'll be disqualified." Lu Chen suddenly asked, "Then, can I use spirit energy refinement?" "Don't worry. We'll seal spirit energy refinement as well. You're not the only one who can use spirit energy refinement," the woman said coldly. "Everyone here is a combat genius. There are many who can use spirit energy refinement. We can't not take this into consideration. In short, use the skills that you've obtained. We won't let you analyze the spiritual energy flow pattern." Lu Chen nodded thoughtfully. It seemed like the rules of the prodigy competition were quite strict. Also, the results of the competition are calculated based on how long you last. In other words, even if you don't get eliminated, as long as you can last until the end, you'll still have a result. Vice versa. No matter how many people you eliminate, if you can't last until the end, you won't have a ranking. "Understood," Lu Chen said straightforwardly. "Alright, you're preparing to enter the sealing heaven formation. You didn't bring your battle pet, right? You're not allowed to bring battle pets here." Lu Chen did leave Little Green and the others at the academy. However, he also brought a battle pet, Rhubarb, who was a 5-star battle pet. No, to be precise, in a place like the 6th heaven, Rhubarb couldn't even be considered a 5-star battle pet. It was just an ordinary Chinese rural dog. Even though he already had the ability to kill the King of Hell, Lu Chen still wanted to try when he could take advantage of a loophole. Can I bring a pet dog? Pet dog? No pets are allowed. Participants can only wear a non-elemental clothing to enter the battlefield. If you're a beast tamer, then use the battle pet that you picked up from the purple gold continent to fight. Lu Chen shook his head. He failed to find the bug. If he had let Rhubarb in, the competition would probably have ended. Forget it. This was such an important competition and had been held for who knows how many years. That Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace shouldn't have such a big loophole. Put your weapons and equipment into your backpack. Only the clothing will enter the Sealing Heaven formation. At that time, the attributes of the clothing will also be sealed. Go in when you're ready. Okay. After Lu Chen finished speaking, he walked into the Sealing Heaven formation. The system reminded him again and again. Lu Chen watched helplessly as all his skills couldn't be used. Ordinary people would come out after a few minutes in the Sealing Heaven formation. However, Lu Chen's sealing ability alone took more than 20 minutes. After nearly half an hour, Lu Chen walked out slowly. Now, all his attributes had become 100 points. All his skills couldn't be used. It was really the same feeling as when he first entered Jiyan. That woman glanced at Lu Chen. When you're ready, go to the preparation area. The prodigy competition will start in 2 hours. At that time, you can directly enter the teleportation gate and be teleported to a random location. As for whether there are any competitors around and whether there are any good items, it will depend on your luck. Lu Chen curled his lips. Got it? Thank you, beautiful lady. The woman pursed her lips as if she was holding back her laughter. Her clear eyes swept across Lu Chen's face. With a shake of her head, her long hair brushed past Lu Chen's nose, leaving behind a fragrance. She raised her head and walked away. Nameless, don't be eliminated from the start. The woman left behind such a sentence, which made Lu Chen a little confused. The staff members are quite concerned about the participants. Lu Chen scratched his head and walked towards the preparation area. As for the purple-clothed girl, after receiving Lu Chen, she left the square and entered a teleportation gate. Not long later, the girl appeared on a Sky Palace platform. Outside the teleportation gate, a middle-aged man smiled at her. Have you seen him? The girl quickly ran 2 steps and came in front of the man. Father, I've seen him. How do you feel? Silly, like a piece of wood. The girl snickered. The man's eyes were filled with love. He's silly? He is the person who killed the King of Hell. Didn't you make a fuss about wanting to see this solipsistic? Really, how can a girl be so thick-skinned? Father, Xen pouted. What thick-skinned, I just want to see who is so strong. The man smiled dotingly. I've raised you for so long and I've never heard you praise me like this. All right, didn't you say he's strong? Do you think he can get a ranking? Father, I'm not Martial Uncle, how can I predict? Oh right, did Martial Uncle predict his ranking? There was an array set up around the purple gold mainland, making the outside world unable to predict the result. However, as a heaven master of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace, he could naturally predict it. Speaking of this, the man finally stopped smiling. Not only is your martial uncle unable to predict his ranking, he can't even predict his fate. What? There's something that martial uncle can't predict? Fine, then let me see what's so special about this nameless. Chapter 1088. More and more people entered the preparation area. Experts from various continents and various academies were waiting for the prodigy competition to begin. Lu Chen noticed that there was already a shadow stone floating above his head. It should have started broadcasting from the preparation area. However, those who could come here were all the top geniuses of various continents, who hadn't seen such a big scene before. They were all doing what they should do and didn't pay attention to the shadow stone. Lu Chen was the same. He was just wandering around the preparation area out of boredom. Not long after, he saw a commotion not far away. It seemed that someone had a conflict over there. It seemed that 2 people were about to fight for some reason, but the people from the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace pulled them away in time and gave them a warning. If you want to fight, go inside and fight when the prodigy competition starts. Whoever causes trouble in the preparation area will be disqualified and punished by the headquarters. The people from the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace said fiercely. There was nothing to watch, but among the crowd of onlookers, Lu Chen suddenly saw a person's badge. Immortal Pavilion Thunder Academy. Lu Chen's mind suddenly felt as if it had been struck by lightning. Wasn't this the other academy that the mountain people had recommended to him? He still had the Thunder Academy's high recommendation token in his backpack. The main spirit vein of the Wunyan Academy had a strange movement. This was the reason why Lu Chen had snatched the old site of the Wunyan Academy. He deduced that it was because of this that the mountain people had recommended him to the Wunyan Academy. Since the Wunyan Academy was like this, then the Thunder Academy might be the same. Even if he didn't join the Thunder Academy, Lu Chen still had to check it out. Just as he was about to ask that person because the conflict had been resolved, the crowd dispersed and that person ran off to who knows where. Lu Chen searched around for a long time, but he didn't see that person again. Damn it, there are too many people. Lu Chen looked at the people coming and going, but the target had already disappeared. However, this chance encounter wasn't completely fruitless. At least he knew that the Thunder Academy still existed, and its headquarters was called the Immortal Pavilion. Other than the discovery of the Thunder Academy, Lu Chen also saw a few familiar representatives. Violet Heavenly Palace, Heavenly Music Pavilion. They all have people here. It can't be, the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace also has people participating in the competition? After waiting in the preparation area for almost 2 hours, the Prodigy competition was finally about to begin. The people of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace used the Great Bell Talisman to broadcast the news. Please teleport to the 1,000 portals in the preparation area. The match begins. Within the 6th layer of heaven, almost all of the students were watching the Prodigy tournament from the countless martial arts fields of the countless academies. Other than learning from the reactions of these top-notch experts on the spot, this continent had its own representatives. This was related to the honor of the headquarters, and at the same time, the honor of the continent. Of course, there were quite a few academies that opened gambling houses. As soon as he announced the start of the match, the people around Lu Chen all rushed madly into the various teleportation gates. Lu Chen also followed the crowd and rushed into the nearest teleportation gate. It's about to start, it's about to start. Xiao Zhan rushed to his seat with a large plate of fruits and seeds. All the instructors, senior brothers, and junior brothers were also staring at the screen. Inside, Zhongxingu, Mabe, and the others also became abnormally nervous. The key is to get through the early and middle stages. If we can make it to the later stages, nameless competitiveness will rise. Yes, especially in the early stages. In the past, many people were eliminated at the beginning of the competition. Let's hurry and find some skills and equipment to use first. On the Celestial Fortress side, the screen of the Tianya Pavilion was divided into 2 parts. One part was the representative of the Celestial Fortress, and the other part was Lu Chen. They knew Lu Chen's strength, so naturally, they would pay attention to him. As for Xer, who was far away, the independent screen in front of her was also divided into 2 parts. One part was locked onto the contestants from the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace, and the other part was also Lu Chen. The entire 6th layer of heaven was paying attention to this battle between top-notch experts. Lu Chen was quickly teleported away. As soon as he landed, Lu Chen found a large abandoned ancient temple in front of him. However, what surprised Lu Chen was that there were at least a few dozen people around him who were also teleported there. There were 20 to 30 people who could see each other. Now, everyone's attributes were pitifully low, and they did not have any skills or equipment. No one had the ability to fight against a few dozen people. In such a situation, falling into a crowd was obviously the most terrifying situation. Everyone probably had the same thought. He was now in a very dangerous situation. Everyone was frozen in place. It's over. This guy actually landed in the ancient temple. Mabe suddenly became nervous. Many people often appear in this place. It's the place where the early stage eliminations are the fastest. Lu Chen's mind raced. There might be items in the ancient temple, but there were too many people around. At this moment, he raised his head and saw a wooden chest on the roof of the ancient temple. That should be the wooden chest that contained the items. At the same time, Lu Chen was not the only one who discovered the wooden chest. The dozens of people who were teleported to the ancient temple all used all their strength and crazily rushed to the roof. Whoever was the first to obtain the treasure chest would have the absolute advantage. Lu Chen's position was very good, and he did not want to let go of this opportunity. However, just as he was about to move, he suddenly noticed a stone falling from the roof. There's someone on the roof? This was Lu Chen's first reaction. Although he did not see anyone, why would there be movement on the roof out of nowhere? This ancient temple was very tall and had 3 floors. If there was really someone on the roof, even if he could snatch the treasure chest from the surrounding opponents, he would definitely not be able to snatch it from the person on the roof. That guy was quite sinister. He did not expose himself at all. Based on my many years of experience, there must be someone on the roof. Lu Chen thought to himself. The item in the chest has most likely been taken by that guy. Damn, someone directly spawned next to the chest? What kind of luck is this? Lu Chen fiercely cursed. You want to trick me? Dream on. It's not good to stay here for long. Retreat first. Most people rushed to the roof, but Lu Chen slammed on the brakes and turned around to run. Lu Chen had not run far when someone on the roof snatched the treasure chest. Haha, it's a cultivation technique. All of you die. Boom boom boom. The people who had snatched the treasure chest were already slaughtering. Everyone turned around and ran. Seeing this scene, Lu Chen almost vomited blood. There was no one on the roof at all. And there was a cultivation technique in the chest. No matter what level of cultivation technique it would be the best in the early stages. That person was already slaughtering everyone there. There was no one on the roof. The ancient temple had probably been in disrepair for a long time and stones had fallen. Damn, what a loss. Lu Chen cursed as he ran for his life. Fortunately, he ran early and successfully escaped from danger. In the Demonic Academy's martial arts field, all the disciples were suspicious when they saw the president's actions. Skyfall frowned and said, "En? Does the president need to be so cowardly? His position is very good. If he went to snatch it, he would have a great chance. Why didn't he snatch it?" There was no one on the roof at all. It was that stone that misled the president. Chu Tian sighed. In the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace, Exing could not help but laugh. This guy is too cautious. Why is he so silly? Exing's father narrowed his eyes slightly. Nameless, no wonder he could go so far. Exing, you said he was silly? He is more shrewd than anyone else. If it was me, I would make the same choice as him. Watch his competition properly. Perhaps it will benefit you for life. Exing instantly frowned. Nameless had clearly missed a good opportunity. How could it make her father give him such a high evaluation? A single mistake could benefit her for life? Wasn't her father making a mountain out of a molehill? Chapter 1089. Lu Chen had no idea what was going on outside. He had already run into the dense forest. Damn, that's too cruel. Lu Chen panted heavily. With his current attributes, it was a little tiring to run so far in one breath. Although Lu Chen survived, he didn't get anything now. It would be very dangerous if he met someone. I don't know if there will be a chest here. It's best to go outside and look. What kind of rubbish skills and equipment are you talking about? Just give me some. At least I can protect myself. Lu Chen wandered in the forest for a while, but he still felt unsafe. There was no one in the forest. Lu Chen walked along the forest for about an hour. Suddenly, he saw what seemed to be a farmhouse in the distance through the trees. He took a closer look. There was actually a wooden box on the wooden table outside the farmhouse. Seeing the wooden box, Lu Chen felt like he had been injected with chicken blood. He looked around carefully and found that there was no one else around. He quickly rushed to the wooden house, picked up the box, and quickly checked inside. After seeing that there were no other boxes, he ran back into the forest. Looking at the box in front of him, Lu Chen was very excited. I finally found a box. It's up to you whether I can make a comeback or not. Please, give me a skill. The disciples of the Demonic Academy were also praying at the same time. Don't give the director a skill, Don't give the director a skill. Don't give him a skill. Etienne looked at the scene of thousands of people praying behind him and frowned slightly. He said to a sea of clouds, "Old sea, these little bastards probably bet that Nameless won't make it into the top 10. A sea of clouds nodded. Probably. If Nameless gets a skill, it will definitely be different. Lu Chen prayed alone. He didn't know that the thousands of people in the academy were also praying. After praying for a while, Lu Chen carefully opened the wooden box. Its obtained item, Speed Talisman. Can be used once. Lu Chen almost spat out a mouthful of blood. What is this broken thing? There was such a thing in the box? It wasn't easy for me to snatch a box, and now it's a one-time use Speed Talisman. At the same time, the demonic academy burst into cheers. That's great. Our prayers worked. God has heard our prayers. Over at Zhongxianji's side, Mabe had just spat out a mouthful of tea. What kind of luck does this guy have? I'm afraid this is the worst treasure. If he could just casually get a skill, this guy would probably be able to fly. Even attribute pills would be better than this. Within the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace, Exen had a bitter expression. Speed Talisman? Nameless luck was too bad. It was not easy to find a chest, but he got the most useless item. Look at senior brother Ing, he already has 3 treasure chests, 2 cultivation techniques, and 1 equipment. Exiner's father smiled. That guy's luck is really bad, especially in the early stages. However, I would like to see if this guy can make a comeback under such a start. At the Heavenly Music Parlor, they were also paying attention to Lu Chen's performance. After all, this guy was also a candidate that they had their eyes on back then. Speed Talisman? Qing Ing, the pavilion master of the Green Law Pavilion, smiled. The competition has already started for more than an hour, but Nameless only got a Speed Talisman. It seems like it's only a matter of time before he is eliminated. The High Mountain Pavilion master said proudly, "The person we found is much stronger than him. Now that I think about it, we should thank him for rejecting our divine body elixir. Otherwise, we would have suffered a loss." In a dense forest somewhere in the purple gold continent, Lu Chen put away the Speed Talisman with a hopeless expression. Although this item was bad, it was still useful. The prodigy competition was held in the purple gold continent. Since it was a continent, the area would definitely not be small. Lu Chen was not worried that he would be killed in the forest. He glanced at the prodigy competition system. 1 hour and 13 minutes after the start of the competition, 4,700 people had already been eliminated. There are still more than 60,000 people? It's so hard to get into the top 10. Lu Chen shook his head. Lu Chen was considered someone who had seen treasure chests before. He realized that treasure chests would usually appear in some conspicuous buildings. However, Lu Chen's combat power was almost 0 now. Once he was discovered, he might be eliminated. No, I still have to go out. I have the Speed Talisman. With their attributes and skills, the Speed Talisman is still useful. Once someone has a movement skill, my Speed Talisman will be useless. Thinking of this, Lu Chen gritted his teeth and walked out of the dense forest. He walked in the direction of a small abandoned city on the map. This time, Lu Chen's luck finally took a turn for the better. There were obvious signs of fighting in this small city, but there was no one else here. Lu Chen hurriedly went into the houses and started searching. After searching a few houses, Lu Chen found a few open chests. They were all empty. It seemed like this place had already been searched. However, Lu Chen was still searching carefully. Finally, in a hidden closet, Lu Chen found a second wooden chest. This wooden chest was at least 3 times the size of the first chest Lu Chen found. This was a level 2 treasure chest. According to the description of the heavenly rubber stopper, there were at least 3 items in a level 2 treasure chest. Lu Chen was so excited that he almost cried. Level 2 treasure chest. My luck has finally changed. All of you, just you wait. Come, give me a skill. No matter how trashy it is. At the same time, thousands of people in the demonic academy were praying. Speed Talisman, Speed Talisman, Speed Talisman. 3 Speed Talismans. Many people who were paying attention to Lu Chen were looking at Lu Chen nervously. After all, there were still some people who knew of Lu Chen's identity. If this guy had a useful skill, the situation would definitely be different. Level 2 treasure chest. TSK, this guy might be able to get a cultivation technique. Lu Chen trembled as he opened the chest. Obtained item, Speed Talisman, *3. Lu Chen fell to the ground with a dull expression. He was in a bad mood. The Demonic Academy's disciples cheered and celebrated this major victory. Haha, the dean is indeed the dean. He never disappoints us. Hee, senior brother Xianjia, I bet 8 million. 8 million. Xiao Zhan grabbed Xianjia and shook him. You're going to lose big this time. Lu Chen obediently put away the 3 speed talismans. The 4 speed talismans were already quite thick. With a long sigh, Lu Chen continued to search the room. Unfortunately, there seemed to be no other fish that had escaped the net. In the early stage, as long as there was an item, no matter if it was good or bad, others would take it away. With the 4 speed talismans in his pocket, he checked the map. According to the map, there was a road not far ahead that led to a small city. It was much bigger than the previous town. This road is the only way to the town. It's very suitable for an ambush. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes. I can't just go there directly. Thinking of this, Lu Chen quietly left the place and entered the dense forest on both sides of the road to hide. He waited for a few hours until the sky darkened. Lu Chen was still hiding in the forest. Lu Chen was able to keep his composure, but the Heavenly Music Pavilion was a little impatient. Their people were lying in ambush near the mainland. They were only 4,000 to 5,000 meters away from Lu Chen's hiding place. However, their people didn't expose their whereabouts at all. Lu Chen didn't appear even though he didn't see anything. This guy. Did he cheat? Does he know that our people are here? The High Mountain Pavilion Master said fiercely. Did he run away? Not long later, a figure suddenly appeared on the road. He quickly passed in front of Lu Chen. At this moment, on the other side, a sharp sword aura whizzed towards the figure. The two of them exchanged blows 1,000 meters in front of Lu Chen. Chapter 1090. Heavenly Music Club? Lu Chen squinted his eyes when he saw the badge on one of them. He was surprised to run into someone from the Heavenly Music Club here. Fortunately, he did not take the road recklessly. Otherwise, he would have been killed. When the two of them fought, they did not use advanced skills. But the Heavenly Music Club had 2 skills, one for offense and one for defense, which made them more skillful. Soon, the representative from the Immortal Tracking Sect was at a disadvantage. That guy knew he could not win, so he kept retreating. Seeing that the representative from the Immortal Tracking Sect was about to lose, Lu Chen was burning with impatience. If he had a skill, he would definitely be able to take advantage of the situation. However, before the outcome of the battle could be determined, 4 or 5 people came out at the same time. Those 4 or 5 people probably did not expect that there would be others like them who had waited until then. However, the Heavenly Music Club and the Immortal Tracking Sect were exhausted. This was the best time to kill and rob. Neither of them would give in. As a result, the intense battle between the two of them had turned into a chaotic battle. All kinds of low-level skills were dazzling to look at. After a battle of wits and courage, the representative from the Heavenly Music Club shouted, I knew you wanted to take advantage of the situation. Unfortunately, you are all trash in front of me. Come out, flying ghost snake. All of a sudden, the representative from the Heavenly Music Club summoned his battle pet and charged into the crowd. While the battle pet was low level, it was still a beast. While the others had skills, their attributes were not high enough. They were no match for the flying ghost snake. Soon, the battle came to an end. The representative from the Heavenly Music Club defeated the other 5. Haha, this is a good harvest. The disciple from the Heavenly Music Club was counting the spoils. But they have a lot of things. Stamina pellets? Good stuff. Let's recover our stamina first. Lu Chen was hiding in the dark, gnashing his teeth. The representative had battle pets while he only had 4 speed talismans. They had started from the same starting line. How could there be such a huge difference between them? While the representative from the Heavenly Music Club had just gone through a fierce battle, he had found the stamina pellets and had a flying ghost snake with him. He was still strong. Lu Chen did not have the courage to go out and court death. After waiting for a while, that guy stood up. Haha, after stealing this batch, I guess my equipment is now the best. I can continue running towards the central area. The high-grade treasure chests should all be there. A few minutes after he left, less than a minute before these people would be teleported out, a wretched figure rushed to the mainland at an extremely fast speed and dragged back the corpses of the 5 people. In order to prevent the representative of the Heavenly Music Parlor from setting up another ambush, Lu Chen did not hesitate to use 2 speed talismans. In any case, he hated this thing to the core. After using it, out of sight, out of mind, the 5 of them hadn't truly died. They were just unable to move after being sealed. When they saw Lu Chen, their eyes widened and they began to chat. Brother, you were actually lying in ambush here. You didn't come out earlier, but you waited for us to finish fighting before coming out? How wretched are you? If you had come out earlier, the Heavenly Music Parlor bastard might not have won. Lu Chen said snappily, since you're already dead, stop talking nonsense. He rummaged through a few fixed backpacks. As there was a limit to each person's backpack, Lu Chen wanted to see if he could pick up something that was left behind. After looking through the unmanned backpacks, Lu Chen found 6 speed talismans. So, there's only one tool in the prodigy competition, and that is the speed talisman. Lu Chen almost broke down. Others fought with extravagant words, but in his world, there was only the speed talisman. After deliberately wasting 2 speed talismans, he actually had 8 speed talismans now. Brother, if there were any useful treasures, they would have taken them long ago. Why would they wait for you? The speed talisman is quite useful. It can be used for escaping and chasing. If it weren't for the fact that that guy couldn't let it go, he would have taken it long ago. Lu Chen looked at these people helplessly, not even having the energy to explain. If there were skills, equipment, attributes, and battle pets, he would also feel that the speed talisman was quite useful. But the problem was that he only had the speed talisman now. A total of 8. The number of speed talismans he had was more than the 5 of them combined. Not long after, the 5 of them had been teleported away. Only Lu Chen was left to sort out his speed talismans helplessly. Although he had lost at the start of the competition, Lu Chen didn't give up. Now that night had fallen, Lu Chen took advantage of the darkness to sneak into the town. He searched the houses one by one. There were 7 or 8 wooden boxes, most of which were second-level wooden boxes. Unfortunately, they had all been found by others, most likely by that guy from the Heavenly Music Parlor. He had already swept the place clean. Of course, Lu Chen didn't come out empty-handed. He found more than 10 speed talismans in the boxes. It seemed that the guy didn't want so many speed talismans, so he left them there. After searching, Lu Chen didn't dare to stay there. He returned to the wilderness and found a hidden haystack to rest. After a tiring day, Lu Chen didn't find a single attribute elixir. With his current attributes, his physical strength couldn't keep up. He had to rest. The first day of the competition was about to end. From the afternoon until now, more than 10 hours had passed. Lu Chen currently had 21 speed talismans. At the same time, when Lu Chen checked the data of the Heavenly Talents competition, he found that more than 10,000 people had been eliminated. That is to say, the resources are concentrated in the hands of the remaining people. They are getting stronger and stronger. Lu Chen frowned. And I don't have a single useful item now. It's over. I'm afraid I'll be in an even worse state tomorrow. As the saying went, one step ahead, one step ahead. These experts all had rich combat experience and knew how to expand their advantage. Just like the representative of the Heavenly Music Parlor. After getting a battle pet, he quickly began to ambush others and expand his advantage. That was to say, Lu Chen's upcoming matches would be even more difficult. Damn it. I'm at odds with the 6th level. Since I entered the 6th level, I've never had a good time. Forget it. No matter how unlucky I am, the competition has to go on. It's more important to have a good rest. Lu Chen cursed and fell asleep. At the same time, the Demonic Academy was watching the competition through the night. How can the Dean sleep with his current equipment? How can he fall asleep? People who get good equipment don't sleep, but he's sleeping. How big is his heart? 21 speed talismans and no other equipment. The Dean is indeed a weirdo. On the Zhongxianji's side, the Sengoku were at their wits' end. Nameless can last until the next day at most. In the past, more people would be eliminated on the second day. The area in front of him has already been searched. He won't be able to get anything good. Sigh, we only saw his incredible strength, but neglected his bad luck. It seems that he won't be able to get a ranking this time. When Nameless comes back, don't complain too much. After all, it's not his fault that he's unlucky. Chapter 1091. Early the next morning, Lu Chen woke up early, washed his face and rinsed his mouth by the stream, and stretched his body. After a good night's sleep, I feel completely different. If I'm energetic, my luck won't be that bad. Lu Chen cheered himself on. There's a village up ahead. Let's go take a look. When he reached the village, Lu Chen realized that he had been too naive when it came to the relationship between one's mental state and luck. After finding 4 speed talismans in the village, Lu Chen's world fell into darkness once again. As he walked, he collected speed talismans. By the afternoon of the second day, Lu Chen already had a thick stack of speed talismans in his hands. It was as if he was possessed by the god of misfortune. However, to everyone's surprise, although Lu Chen did not find any equipment, his cautious style allowed him to avoid ambushes time and time again. He managed to survive until the next day. After sleeping in the forest, on the third day, Lu Chen continued to collect speed talismans and went further and further on the road. Gradually, Lu Chen had forgotten that there were other items in the prodigy competition. In front of a deserted village, Lu Chen saw a box and ran over excitedly. Wow, it's a fucking box. There are actually 2 speed talismans. I'm rich. I'm rich. The Demonic Academy's disciples were no longer praying. They had already discovered that there was no need to pray. The Dean could only find speed talismans. Seeing the Dean excitedly collect the 2 speed talismans, Chu Tian shook his head and sighed. Has the Dean gone crazy? After suffering countless setbacks, he seems to have fallen in love with the speed talismans. This should be the legendary morbid feeling. Yi Fan analyzed. When other people see the box, even if the items in the box are useless to them, they will destroy them. Only auxiliary items like the speed talismans are too lazy to destroy them. The Dean's backpack is full of speed talismans. He can actually last until the 4th day. It's just that his attributes are too low, so he doesn't dare to rush too fast. As a result, he has been left far behind. At the end of the 3rd day, there were less than 20,000 contestants left, and Lu Chen had actually lasted until now. After all, other people with skills would always want to snatch others' skills. However, for Lu Chen, this was obviously unrealistic. He had never had a direct confrontation with anyone along the way. Coupled with his cautious nature, he managed to survive until the 4th day. However, in view of the fact that Lu Chen only had over 300 speed talismans, no one thought that he could get a ranking. In the Prodigy tournament, the closer one was to the center of the continent, the higher the grade of the treasure chests. If one wanted to obtain a ranking, they would definitely have to fight head-on. Thus, everyone naturally hoped to obtain a high-grade item. Everyone's attention gradually shifted to the center of the arena. Even Zhongxiangu had given up on paying attention to Lu Chen. After all, he was someone who only had a few hundred speed talismans. The gap between him and the others was getting bigger and bigger. Inside the Demonic Academy, the Black Armor King started to calculate how much money he had to pay. The only one who had not given up was probably Lu Chen himself. He opened the treasure chests again and again, collecting the speed talismans again and again. On the afternoon of the 5th day, Lu Chen stood in front of a small wooden house that had already been searched and opened the treasure chests in front of him. How many speed talismans are there this time? Lu Chen no longer had any hope. Obtained item, speed talisman *2. Obtained cultivation method, bone-crushing fist. Lu Chen blinked. He thought that the system had made a mistake. There was actually a cultivation method here. A fist technique for grandmasters of combat. Is this really true? Lu Chen said in disbelief. Learn. Bone-crushing fist, causes physical damage to the target of strength *10 and has a certain probability of causing bone-crushing strike. Bone-crushing strike causes bone damage. Lu Chen's eyes widened. This skill's damage was not high, but this bone-crushing strike was very strong. One had to know that in the prodigy competition, no matter how high one's attributes were calculated, one could not break through. There was no concept of cultivation level here. Without breaking through, one could not completely transform their physical body. Therefore, no matter how high their attributes were, they would still be affected by bone-crushing strike. Even if the opponent was fully equipped, as long as bone-crushing strike was used, they could be seriously affected immediately. There are actually people who don't want this skill? Lu Chen could not believe his eyes. Could it be that the opponent is not a martial artist and is not good at this skill? Or has he already equipped enough more powerful skills? Finally, Lu Chen finally noticed that this skill's biggest weakness was the probability of bone-crushing strike, which was only 5%. In theory, out of 40 attacks, only one bone-crushing strike could be used. No wonder this triggering probability is really too low. If you don't use bone-crushing strike, then the attack won't work. That's why people don't want this skill. Lu Chen muttered. Although the probability of bone-crushing strike was extremely low, for Lu Chen, there was no more extravagant request. That's great, I finally have a skill. Lu Chen almost cried. After equipping the first skill, Lu Chen's confidence skyrocketed, and he headed towards the central region of the purple gold continent. Father, Solipsistic finally has a skill. Xin Air turned around and looked at her father. But with only this one skill that others don't want, with no equipment and low attributes, I feel that his chances of making a comeback are still too small. The man frowned slightly. This guy is indeed a little unlucky. The gap between them was too big at the beginning, and now he only obtained a skill that isn't too strong. In the end, it's still a little too late. Does he have no hope of making a comeback? The middle-aged man looked at the person in the image, then looked at the luxurious equipment and skills of the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace representative, and shook his head. Everyone will destroy the items that they can't take away. At most, they will leave some useless items for him. Currently, except for the final battle, almost all the treasure chests have been searched. If he wants to rely on bone-crushing strike to make a comeback, I think it's already hopeless. Lu Chen didn't care whether others thought highly of him or not. After obtaining the first skill, he was instantly revived with full health. You don't want to play with me, right? Now I have a skill too. On the 6th day, on the 7th day, Lu Chen was still alive in the Prodigy tournament, and he was also heading towards the central region of the purple gold continent for the final battle. Of course, he didn't give up on searching for treasure chests. He didn't find any other equipment, but there were more high-grade treasure chests, and the number of speed talismans increased rapidly. He had already accumulated more than 2,000 pieces. Others' backpacks were filled with equipment and skills, but his was filled with speed talismans. On the 7th night, there were only about 4,000 people left. At night, Lu Chen began to study the speed talisman. The speed talisman was a type of talisman that could increase one's movement speed for a certain period of time. Most people knew that the speed talisman had such an effect. However, Lu Chen had been carefully studying the description of the speed talisman. Increase body speed by 200% for 10 seconds. Under normal circumstances, the speed talisman is used on the legs and feet. It's equivalent to a pretty good technical displacement skill, but it still can't be compared to a flicker displacement skill. Lu Chen rubbed his chin. That's not right. This speed talisman is a bit different from the ones I've encountered before. The previous speed talisman said that it would increase one's movement speed by a certain amount, but this one said, increase body speed. Lu Chen's brows furrowed tighter and tighter. Then, if I put it on my arm, Lu Chen used the speed talisman on his arm and quickly threw out a bone-shattering fist. The speed of this punch was much faster than usual. Lu Chen suddenly widened his eyes. So, this is how it increases body speed? That is to say, if I have enough speed talismans, I can do a lot of things. Lu Chen's eyes gradually lit up. Chapter 1092. After watching the genius competition for several days, many people had already rested, but Exing had not. More than 300 representatives of the Baron Heaven Immortal Academy had been eliminated. Currently, he was dressed in luxurious equipment and was very conspicuous among the remaining powerhouses. Many people would choose to avoid him when they saw him from afar. The more they did so, the more powerful items he could get, further widening the gap. On the other side of the screen, the solipsistic had already fallen asleep in the woods after studying the speed talisman for a while. This guy slept on time every day and was left far behind. He did not encounter anyone, and even if he did, he could effectively avoid them. In short, he was a guy who was almost naked, but he had lasted until now. Perhaps it was her father's instructions that made Exine pay more attention to Lu Qin. What was he doing just now? What's the use of a bone-shattering fist and a bunch of speed talismans? Exine shook her head. However, although this guy has been left behind so far and can no longer compete with others, he searched carefully everywhere he went and did not let go of any treasure chest. I suddenly understand why he can stand at the peak of the level 6. He won't let go of any opportunity, any detail. Although Lu Chen's performance had been at the bottom, even if he had lasted until now, it was because he was too weak and had been left far behind, but Exing had a better understanding of him. The genius competition was too accidental. In terms of real strength, that guy was definitely an existence that could kill everyone. There was no doubt about that. The 8th day of the competition finally began. As more and more contestants gathered, the battle at this time had entered a white-hot stage. Lu Qin woke up early from the forest and went straight to the center of the purple-gold continent for the final battle. However, just as Lu Qin was halfway across a wooden bridge, a person walked out from each end of the bridge. Seeing this scene, everyone who paid attention to Lu Qin suddenly became nervous. After several days of hiding, Nameless finally met an enemy. Moreover, he was being sandwiched. Those two seemed to have formed a temporary alliance. Chu Tian said, "I've seen their battle before, and it's a method of encircling others." "No way, the Dean only has one bone-shattering fist." "The Dean is finally coming back," Oldwine said. "It's finally over. I've got 3 million. When the Dean comes back, don't tell anyone about the bet. Otherwise, we will die miserably." Xiao Zhan didn't forget to warn his fellow disciples. Lu Qin looked at the two people blocking his way. One was from the Flying Martial Saint Academy of the Drunken Immortal Pavilion, and the other was from the 100 Battles Academy of the Lying Immortal Pavilion. In short, he didn't know any of them. Demonic Academy? Why were people from the Academy allowed to participate in the Prodigy competition? No wonder you've been left so far behind. The person from the Flying Martial Sect coldly snorted, his eyes filled with disdain. "Demon Lord, don't talk nonsense with this kind of trash. Hurry up and kill him. Let's see if he has any puppet technique." Another person shouted to his companion, "I'm still lacking a good puppet technique, it's making me feel uncomfortable." Lu Qin looked at the person who spoke and asked indifferently, "Are you a puppet master?" "That's right, I'm a puppet master." The other party glared fiercely at Lu Qin. Lu Qin coldly snorted, "I'm really annoyed with puppet masters." Speaking of which, Lu Chen's relationship with puppet masters was not shallow. The 5th celestial layer boss was a puppet master, and the King of Hell also knew puppet techniques. In short, other than the Oracle who liked to act mysterious, the most annoying thing for Lu Chen was puppet masters. "Of course you're annoyed, because puppet masters are strong." That person sneered, "You're about to die, yet you still dare to talk nonsense. You really don't know how to write the word death. Brat, I'd like to see if you want to break through the bridge or break through me." Lu Qin coldly snorted, "What bridge? You two, come at me together." In front of the screen, the disciples of the Demonic Academy vomited blood. At this time, the Dean still wanted to fight two people at once? Didn't he know that he only had one bone-breaking fist? Oh, there's also a speed talisman, but that thing was mostly used as an auxiliary tool. The other party could directly catch up with him. "Arrogant," Demon Lord shouted in a low voice, "Chong Bei, show him some color." These two people had the same surname. They seemed to be brothers, but they went to two different academies. The two of them rushed to Lu Chen at the same time. Puppet advance. The puppet master Chong Bei quickly released a red devil puppet. Its whole body emitted a creaking sound and rushed forward quickly. On the other side, Demon Lord held a crescent moon sword and rushed to Lu Chen. The number of eliminated people, 142. Seeing the two people coming from both sides, Lu Chen narrowed his eyes and took out 5 speed talismans in his left hand. Speed talisman. 2 speed talismans were used on his legs at the same time. Lu Chen's speed increased sharply. But he didn't dodge. Instead, he rushed to Demon Lord. On one hand, he closed the distance between him and Demon Lord. On the other hand, he opened the distance between him and the devil puppet. Courting death. Demon Lord shouted angrily, "Crescent moon sword." Lu Chen stuck another speed talisman on his torso. His body moved sideways and he actually avoided the attack. The last 2 talismans were stuck on his arms. Bone-breaking fist. Boom 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 boom. Lu Chen's attack speed was extremely fast. With both fists, he attacked more than a dozen times in an instant. People could hardly believe their eyes. The bone-breaking fist is so fast? Isn't this the worst skill in the Tianjiao competition? No, how did he use the speed talisman just now? He used the speed talisman on all parts of his body to increase his movement speed, attack speed, dodge speed. I also thought of using the speed talisman to accelerate the body parts to achieve different effects, but in actual combat it's too difficult. You have to predict the opponent's skills and respond to the opponent's attack. Moreover, after operating separately, the amount of operation is increased by many times. It can't be used in actual combat. Wait, he separated his torso like this. It's somewhat similar to the puppet technique. Isn't the puppet technique controlling the various parts of the puppet to complete various actions? It's just that the puppet master controls the puppet, while he controls his own body. Obviously, this wasn't something that a puppet master could do. It also required a strong close combat ability. Yi Fan suddenly stood up. Not good, have you forgotten? The Dean, he seems to be an all-rounder. What kind of skill does he have that he can't use? Xiao Zhan's hand that was holding the fruit trembled a little. Damn, the Dean can use a speed talisman like this? It's useless to pray. No way he can win like this. Chu Tian's face was full of horror. Little Beast ate Xiao Zhan's fruit and said leisurely, "Actually, I didn't have the heart to tell you before." Tell us what? A group of people hurriedly looked at Little Beast. Little Beast leisurely swallowed the fruit and continued, "From the moment Dad got the bone-breaking fist, the competition was already over." Chapter 1093. You are courting death. Demon Lord turned around and slashed his sword. However, this person's attack speed was not as fast as Lu Chen's. Lu Chen had a few more speed talismans in his hand. In a blink of an eye, he was behind Demon Lord. You don't want to break my bones? Then, let's do it again. Lu Chen shouted and avoided his opponent's attack. He launched a second wave of attack. His fists were like raindrops falling on Demon Lord's body. A close uppercut hit Demon Lord's ribs. With a cracking sound, Demon Lord's ribs were broken. Demon Lord suddenly felt a sharp pain. Damn, what kind of martial art is this? Why is there such a strong martial art? Lu Chen coldly snorted, "How can you understand the strength of my martial art?" After that, he punched again and broke Demon Lord's right ribs. This time, Demon Lord has completely lost his fighting power. Lu Chen's legs were covered with speed talismans. He avoided the demon puppets and rushed toward Demon Lord Chongbei. Demon Lord Chongbei's combat experience was quite rich. He quickly controlled the puppet to intercept. Lu Chen's body was covered with speed talismans. He avoided the puppet's sweep and rushed straight to the puppet master behind the puppet master. Damn, this guy's whole body is so flexible. Speed talismans can be used like this. Demon Lord hurriedly used his movement skill. Jiang Qingyan Fly. Demon Lord Chongbei's movement skill was relatively advanced. There were 3 flickering movements. However, after 3 movements, Demon Lord Chongbei was embarrassed. Although Jiang Qingyan Fly can quickly pull away from Lu Chen, the skill has a cooldown. But Lu Chen's speed talismans can be used all the time without consuming spiritual power. Not long after, Lu Chen approached Demon Lord Chongbei. Damn, this guy can't be shaken off. Demon Lord Chongbei tried to withdraw his puppet to block, but it was too late. Poison extraction silver needle. Demon Lord Chongbei opened his puppet's abdomen and shot out a burst of silver needles. Although Demon Lord Chongbei's reaction was fast enough, for Lu Chen, this level of reaction speed was not on the same level as the previous battles he experienced. For example, King of Hell, his speed was beyond the naked eye. Insignificant skill. Lu Chen snorted and quickly avoided the silver needles. He had already arrived in front of Zhong Bei. Lu Chen can even kill Demon Lord Chongbei, not to mention a puppet master. Bone-breaking fist. However, unexpectedly, Demon Lord Chongbei's body. When Lu Chen's body's fist, his body's spirit shield. Ha ha, little bastards. I'm afraid your attacks are just tickling me. Evil, kill him. Lu Chen completely ignored the evil demon puppets rushing towards him, and continued to tangle with Zhong Bei. Relying on his nimble movements, he quickly unleashed a second set of bone-shattering fists. The shield didn't break, but Chong Bei's right arm was broken. This. Demon Lord Chong Bei was frightened. Lu Chen sneered. Just now, when I got close to you, I deliberately forced you to move. I found that you didn't hesitate to stay away from the puppet to prevent me from getting close to you. It means that you are afraid of me getting close to you. Since you are afraid of me getting close to you, why are you afraid of me getting close to you? My attack is not high. The only explanation is that your shield's level is not high. It can block my attack, but it can't block my special effect. Demon Lord Chongbei's face was pale. This fellow had grasped his own mentality too accurately, wasn't he? Demon Lord Chongbei was indeed bluffing. Under normal circumstances, when the opponent saw that his attack was blocked, he should think about how to dodge the puppet's attack. But this guy didn't care. He directly launched 2 attacks and finally used the bone-breaking attack. Demonic Academy. Who are you? Who I am is not important. What's important is that you have lost. Lu Chen immediately used the bone-breaking fist to defeat Demon Lord Chongbei. After another round of attacks and completely defeating the 2, Lu Chen sat on the bridge and leisurely organized the 2's backpacks. In the 6th heaven, the audience was dumbfounded. Xen's tiredness from watching the battle through the night was gone at this moment. She stared at the guy on the screen with her eyes wide open. Just now, the representative of the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace had killed a powerful opponent with his sword. However, Xen was deeply attracted by Lu Chen's battle. The representative of the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace relied on his powerful equipment to win. Solipsistic, on the other hand, only used the speed talisman and the bone-breaking fist to defeat 2 powerful opponents. Although she admired Solipsistic for killing the King of Hell, she didn't have any hope for him in the prodigy competition. This guy. He used 2 items that others didn't want and used them to such a terrifying effect? What kind of monster is this? In the Demonic Academy's martial arts field, a green light shone. Everyone's eyes were wide open. What the fuck, that's possible? The president killed them instead. What the fuck? It can't be, right? How can a speed talisman and a bone-breaking hammer give off the feeling of several sets of heaven-tier cultivation techniques? It's over, it's over, it's over, it's over. The president is looting. Xiao Zhan's whole body trembled. 2 trash skills were already so powerful. Now, the president had 2 backpacks for him to choose from. Moreover, they were basically 2 people's backpacks. How could he survive? My 8 million. What are the Chong Lu and Chong Bei brothers doing? They can't even kill the president. This time, it's over. Everyone looked at Lu Chen, who was leisurely searching through the backpacks, and their hearts almost stopped beating. Lu Chen sat there alone, searching through the backpacks. The 2 of them had almost all their equipment. Lu Chen compared them. Weapons, clothes, helmets, shoes, arm guards, wrist guards, leg guards. These equipment were somewhat interesting. They were all body equipment without any special effects, but they could increase the user's attributes. It should be specially made for the Tianjiao competition. After all, they couldn't use soul body fusion here, so the attributes had to be added to the user's body. Perhaps because it was more difficult to make body equipment, the attributes added couldn't be compared to battle soul equipment. The attributes added were only in the tens. However, after a set of equipment was completed, Lu Chen's attributes had greatly increased. All 4 attributes had reached more than 2,000 points. In addition, Lu Chen learned 2 sets of scimitar skills, Crescent Blade, and Revolving Moonlight Slash, a set of puppet manipulation technique, 2 sets of movement skills, Jiangqing Yen Fei, Lone Tree Flash, Puppet Strings, and the Demon Puppet. Lu Chen checked the puppet's attributes. It had 1 defensive skill and 2 offensive skills. Putting the crescent blade on his back and putting away the puppet, Lu Chen stood up and let out a long sigh. He almost burst into tears. I finally have equipment and skills. This time, I should be able to reach the top 10. Now, my students must be cheering for me. The president did it. Lu Chen found a shadow stone in the sky, clenched his fist at the shadow stone, and made a gesture of cheering. In the demonic academy, the atmosphere was sorrowful. The president is flying. It's completely over, my 500,000 spirit stones, that was saved by me scrimping and saving for a few months. Is there any foreign trade business in the academy recently? Do we still need manpower? It's okay if the salary is low, just take care of 2 meals. Chapter 1094. When he thought of the diligent students in the academy, Lu Chen felt that the burden on his shoulders was very heavy. He was shouldering the hopes of those diligent students, so he was even more motivated. He headed all the way to the final battle. On the 8th day of the Prodigy Tournament, Lu Chen smoothly arrived at the periphery of the final battle. There were no buildings near the final battle. It was an open and unobstructed plain. It looked like the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace had deliberately arranged this. If one wanted to get into the top 10, they had to have excellent skills and the strength to defeat their opponents head-on. However, Lu Chen could see several huge treasure chests at a glance. They should be the highest-level treasure chests, and the items inside must also be top-level. However, the strange thing was that the treasure chests were so conspicuous, but they were still there untouched, and there was not a single person around. Speaking of which, there were still more than 4,000 people left. If he, the slowest person, had arrived near the final battle, then the others must have arrived as well. Obviously, these people were lying in ambush somewhere nearby, waiting for an opportunity to move. Xing had been comparing the performance of the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace's representative, Tang Yu, and Solipsistic in the competition. Needless to say, after Tang Yu entered the Purple Gold Continent and obtained the first treasure chest, he activated Berserk mode. If he met a god, he killed a god. If he met a Buddha, he killed a Buddha. He overcame all obstacles along the way and killed more than 400 people. His equipment, skills, and even recovery pills and attribute pills. Who knew how many he had taken? It could be said that apart from the top-level treasure chests in the final battle, he was now wearing top-level equipment. However, even though Tang Yu was already very strong, he was currently hiding in the grass that was half a person's height. After all, to be able to survive until now, other people's equipment couldn't be much worse than his. Everyone was a powerhouse, so if he went out now, he would very likely become a target for everyone. On Solipsistic's side, although he also had a full set of equipment, compared to the top-level powerhouses, he was still more than a level lower. However, it was this guy with ordinary equipment that actually walked towards the biggest treasure chests in an ostentatious manner. Seeing this, Xing completely stopped watching Tang Yu's competition and focused all her attention on Lu Chen. It wasn't that Xing didn't care about Tang Yu's results at all. After all, he represented the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace. But it couldn't be helped. It was hard not to pay attention to Solipsistic's every move. No way, he just walked over like that? Hadn't he always been cautious? This is too hard to understand. Xing's eyes widened, and even her breathing became hurried. This was the place where thousands of people were lying in ambush. On the other side, the disciples of the demonic academy huddled together in fear. Please, send an expert to punish the dean. The current dean is a man equipped with a low-level cultivation technique and 2 middle-level cultivation techniques. How could those people with 4 or 5 high-level cultivation techniques be his match? Pray for a miracle. Lu Chen walked towards the VIP room as if there was no one around. The group of people hiding in the bushes had their minds blank. Is that guy crazy? Anyone with half a brain would know that this place is filled with people. How did he get here? How dare he? Damn it, should we make a move? However, the representative of Celestial Fortress saw Lu Chen's badge and immediately understood. Demonic Academy. Damn, it's nameless. I was wondering who had the guts. Forget it, if it's this guy, I think it's better to stay low. The treasure chest in front of them was bigger than Lu Chen, so the things inside definitely wouldn't be bad. When he was about 200 meters away from the treasure chest, Lu Chen suddenly stopped and looked around with a frown. If you don't make a move, I'm going to open the chest. A gust of wind blew, and the bushes moved neatly with the wind. Lu Chen waited for a while, but still no one came out. He shook his head. Since you don't want to come out, then I won't be polite. With that, he continued to walk towards the treasure chest. 150 meters, 100 meters, 50 meters. Lu Chen walked very slowly, as if he was deliberately giving the ambushing opponents enough time to hesitate. Ma Bei and the others' hearts were in their throats. He's seducing the ambushers. Huang Xian said, the others are probably confused by his actions, wanting to make a move but not daring to. Moreover, they have to consider that once they show themselves, they will become the target of others. This is the ultimate psychological game. Nameless threw the difficult problem to all the opponents. Who knows how many people's plans have been messed up by Nameless' move? They definitely wouldn't think that someone would dare to do this. Ma Bei nodded. Nameless' move is indeed ruthless, but he needs to have enough confidence in his own reaction, otherwise, who would dare to play like this? Solipsistic isn't called solipsistic for nothing, that guy is crazy. When Lu Chen was only 50 meters away from the treasure chest, someone finally couldn't take it anymore. You're asking for it? You want to open a level 5 chest in front of me? Dream on. I can't stand such an arrogant guy, kill him. In an instant, hundreds of figures rushed out from the bushes at the same time, shooting towards Lu Chen at the same time. Lu Chen snorted. I knew that someone would definitely not be able to hold back and make a move. Since you're here, don't leave. For some people, it was to fight for a ranking, but for some super strong people, there was no such thing as second place in their dictionaries. How could they let Nameless obtain a top-grade treasure chest so easily? How dare you be so arrogant in front of me, mysterious Ghost Claw? A black illusory claw directly grabbed at Lu Chen from dozens of meters away. Flat Mountain Sword Aura. Gale Steps. Overlord's Possession. Fixed Shot. A large number of skills were thrown at him. The skills of the 9 major professions were endless. In an instant, even the Demonic Academy's disciples saw hope. But at this moment, Lu Chen's figure suddenly blurred. Lone Tree Flash. Jiang Qingyan Fly. However, these people were all top experts of their respective continents, and their combat abilities were definitely not weak. It was as if they knew that Lu Chen had a teleportation skill, and even more skills were thrown at Lu Chen's second landing spot. You've used up your teleportation skill, right? Let's see where you can run to. 10,000 swords return. I've been waiting for your teleportation skill, Azura Tempest Seal. However, in the midst of his rapid movement, there were dozens of speed talismans in Lu Chen's hand. Who told you that I've used up my teleportation skill? Speed talismans. After saying that, Lu Chen's speed increased again, dodging a large number of attacks and pouncing towards the person who attacked him the most. That person was Royal Heaven Immortal Palace's Tang Yu. Seeing that you're jumping the fiercest, I'll take care of you first. Lu Chen quickly rushed towards Tang Yu. That's it. Or suddenly realized that the two scenes in front of her were actually synchronized. The one with the worst equipment was eyeing the one with the most luxurious equipment? This guy is really crazy. Xian couldn't help but exclaim. Chapter 1095. Lu Chen chose to prioritize killing the strongest one. Originally, Tang Yu had already made preparations. Although this guy had increased his speed with the acceleration talisman, it was still just an acceleration talisman. He also had a displacement skill, so he didn't need to be afraid. Looking for me? You really have guts. Shadow wave treading. Tang Yu was very sure that as long as he put some distance between them, he would have enough room to attack. With his skills, he could kill this person without any injuries. However, Tang Yu didn't expect that as soon as he landed, another figure would suddenly pounce on him at an extremely fast speed. The newcomer had a sinister and strange appearance, and his joints were stiff, but his speed was even faster than the person from the demonic academy. This is a puppet? Tang Yu's eyes widened. The person from the demonic academy was agile and had quick reflexes. Judging from how he had dodged everyone's attacks just now, he should be a combat expert who specialized in close combat. But who knew that he was actually a puppeteer? Even if he was a puppeteer, it wouldn't be a big deal, but this person's puppet was too fast. Moreover, it wasn't using a displacement skill. It wasn't until he saw the talismans on the puppet's legs that he realized. Why was it so fast? Because that guy had used an acceleration talisman on his puppet. In the main hall of the heavenly music parlor, Qin Ying's eyes widened. This guy can actually use the acceleration talisman like this? The High Mountain Pavilion master couldn't help but stand up and stare at the screen. Not only did he explore the usage of the acceleration talisman to the extreme, but he also coordinated it with his skills. That puppet isn't too strong, but in his hands, it's comparable to a war god puppet. At this time, in the main hall of the heavenly music parlor, a burly man from another race narrowed his eyes. The same thing in nameless hands has a completely different effect. No wonder this person could escape from the underworld's abyss of myriad calamities and kill the king of hell, Demon Lord. As long as he's given the slightest chance, he'll grasp it tightly. Under Lu Chen's control, the demon puppet's power had far surpassed that of Zhong Bei, a pure puppeteer. His body and the puppet were almost like one. In addition, both of them were enhanced by acceleration talismans. Whether it was movement or attack speed, they were always at an extremely high level. Most importantly, while other puppeteers controlled their puppets from afar, Lu Chen was adept at close combat. Tang Yu had just landed when he was attacked by a puppet. He hurriedly activated his teleportation skill again. However, what was waiting for him this time was Lu Chen's main body. For a moment, Lu Chen avoided most of the attacks by widening the distance between them. At the same time, he forced Tang Yu into a 1 versus 2 situation. Speed Talisman. Bone-shattering fist. Tang Yu hastily summoned a shield. Gold Jade Shield. For a moment, spiritual energy collided, and a series of treasure chests appeared. Damn it! Don't be arrogant! Traveling Crane Sword Shadow. Tang Yu's sword shot out like lightning, launching a fierce attack on Lu Chen. Lu Chen quickly relied on the haste effect of the haste talisman to avoid Tang Yu's attack. Suddenly, the chest of the puppet behind Tang Yu opened. Poison extracting silver needles. A silver light flashed and a large number of silver needles swept towards Tang Yu. Not only were Tang Yu's 2 teleportation skills unable to shake off Lu Chen and the puppet, but he was now in a situation where he had no more teleportation skills to use. Facing the barrage of silver needles, his current attributes weren't enough to support him in avoiding the high-speed silver needles. Clang, 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 clang. A series of collisions rang out as the silver needles struck his shield. Your shield isn't bad. Lu Chen sneered. If he had fought with the Chong Lu brothers before, he probably wouldn't have been able to break through Tang Yu's shield with his attacks. However, he was now fully equipped, and his attributes weren't so low that he couldn't break through the shield. Revolving Moonlight Slash. The scimitar in his hand shot out several arcs of sword energy. After they bounced off Tang Yu's shield, they didn't disappear. Instead, they repeatedly attacked 2 or 3 times before finally dissipating due to exhaustion of spiritual energy. After a series of attacks, Tang Yu's shield had been broken. the Sha now. Lu Chen added a few more speed talismans, allowing Sha to maintain high mobility. Tang Yu had been besieged by these two guys who seemed to have activated speed cheats, and his godly equipment was quite strenuous. A streak of sword energy temporarily forced Lu Chen and the puppet back. Tang Yu angrily said, You guys aren't done yet? Where did you get so many speed talismans? He really hadn't expected that the speed talismans could be used like this, but the problem was that this guy had already used more than 20 speed talismans against him, and now he was still taking out a bunch. Not many, just a few thousand. Lu Chen sneered. Then he and the puppet attacked again. Even though Tang Yu had 5 or 6 fairly powerful offensive skills, 2 high-level teleportation skills, and a defensive skill with considerable defensive power, his opponent didn't give him a chance at all. Speed Talisman, Bone-Shattering Fist. After a series of fierce attacks, there was a crack as Tang Yu's right arm fractured. Tang Yu had just slowed down a bit when the accelerated version of Sha quickly caught up to him. It opened its arms and hugged Tang Yu tightly. Binding Mechanism. Tang Yu, who had just lost his arm, was stuck in his wound by a powerful force, and he screamed in pain. Bone-Shattering Fist. Lu Chen launched another wave of attacks. Crack. Soon, Tang Yu fell down powerlessly. Exa looked at the scene in disbelief. Tang Yu had actually been defeated by the solipsistic. The level of these two people's equipment was on a completely different level, but Tang Yu had been beaten to the point where he couldn't fight back at all. How could that guy use such a low-level skill to defeat Tang Yu? Felt like her mind was in chaos. Not only was Tang Yu defeated, but it was a crushing defeat. Tang Yu hadn't even touched the solipsistic. Xer's father had appeared behind her again at some point. After a long time, he said, the so-called extreme is probably referring to the solipsistic. He uses his current resources to the extreme. Moreover, in his battle with Tang Yu, he showed his experience in hundreds of battles. That's something that Tang Yu can't match at all. I reckon that it won't be long before the puppet's combination with his own melee attacks becomes a new model that all puppeteers will compete to imitate. Xing was dumbfounded. That guy had just casually paired things up, and it actually became a teaching material that everyone competed to imitate. Xing? Do you still think he's stupid now? The man smiled at Xing. Took a deep breath and smiled. Dad, although he's really amazing when he fights, I don't know why, but I still think he's stupid. So stupid that he's cute. The man looked at his daughter's slightly red cheeks and shook his head with a smile. He deliberately sighed loudly and said, a grown girl can't be kept at home. Dad, what are you saying? After Lu Chen dealt with Tang Yu, he turned around and reappeared another person. Speed Talisman, Bone-Shattering Fist. This guy's luck wasn't too good. The first wave of Bone-Shattering Fist directly fractured his ribs. Before that guy could react, Lu Chen and the puppet decisively put him down and pounced on the next target. For a moment, everyone witnessed what it meant to constantly accelerate. Fuck, how many speed talismans does this guy have? A person with a broken leg looked at the two figures in horror. We have so many top-notch experts, but he's actually fighting us alone? Who the hell is he? Chapter 1096. The speed talisman, which didn't consume any spiritual power, was paired with the low-consumption puppet technique and bone-crushing fist. Lu Chen lasted longer than anyone else on the field. Those people watched helplessly as this guy defeated Tang Yu and several other experts. They didn't even have the will to fight anymore. This guy is cheating. Not good, he's coming. But speed talismans can be used like this? Puppets can be used like this? That guy from the demonic academy isn't human at all. Now, Lu Chen and his evil spirits chased after the group of people as if they were in a no-man's land. In the end, they discovered that their 1 or 2 displacement skills couldn't outrun Lu Chen, who was constantly accelerating. What awaited them was only their bones being crushed by the bone-crushing fist. In less than half an hour, Lu Chen took care of more than 200 people who appeared, except for a few who ran away. Lu Chen dragged this group of people to the level 5 treasure chest and began to search through them one by one. Without a doubt, Lu Chen's following equipment and skills were completely replaced. Seeing this, the disciples of the demonic academy already knew that the outcome was already decided. The speed talisman, paired with the bone-crushing fist, was invincible. If he was given a set of top-level equipment, that guy would jump from the most miserable one to the strongest one. Well, this chainmail has good defense. I'll change it. Lu Chen threw away his armor. Dazzling gold and silver snake sword? It's crooked and doesn't fit. I don't want it. This water-repelling sword is better. There's also a blazing sky spear? Paired with the scattered essence spirit energy cannon just now. I like this. Unfortunately, I don't have enough backpacks. Forget it, I don't want a long-range one. This puppet seems to be a bit stronger. It doesn't take up a backpack, so I can bring 2 puppets. In the grass, the group of people trembled in fear when they heard Lu Chen talking to himself about upgrading equipment. That guy now had 2 puppets, a Pichio battle pet and a purple-scaled Azure Python battle pet. Although his weapon was only the water-repelling sword and he had only switched to 2 sword techniques, the overall number of puppets didn't increase. But the most important thing was that even if he didn't pick up the weapon, he still didn't throw away the speed talisman. 2 puppets, 2 battle pets, and himself. If all of them were to use the speed rune, it would be a disaster. My bag isn't enough. I can't throw away the speed talisman. Forget it, I don't want the recovery pills either. Damn, this is so annoying. I still have to open a level 5 treasure chest. Lu Chen impatiently looked at the level 5 treasure chest behind him, his face filled with displeasure. Forget it, I won't open it. It's too troublesome to change it back and forth. So be it. The group of people gritted their teeth and stomped their feet. That fellow is actually too lazy to open a level 5 treasure chest? He must be crazy. Impossible, he must be trying to lure me out. Otherwise, why would someone not open a level 5 treasure chest? Once the looting was over, Lu Chen asked the battle puppet to help him gather the 5 level 5 treasure chests in the final battlegrounds. He didn't open the treasure chest. Instead, he looked around and then disappeared into the bushes. Puzzled, Exen asked her father, "Father, he actually didn't open a level 5 treasure chest. He even left in front of so many people. Who wouldn't know that he must be lying in ambush nearby?" The man frowned slightly. This fellow has such a deep strategy. "Ah? Father, what do you mean?" The man said, "Exen, let me ask you. If you were lying in ambush at the final battlegrounds, what would you be thinking right now?" Exen frowned and tried to get herself into the environment set by her father. Solipsistic strength has been exposed. I probably can't beat him. Although we're in the top 10 of the Prodigy competition, the current situation is that all of us might become his hunting targets. Exiner said. When the time comes, no one can be sure that they'll be in the top 10. But if I can get the item in the level 5 treasure chest, maybe I'll have a chance. But that fellow might be lying in ambush nearby. If I go out now, I might be eliminated by him. But if I don't go out, I can only be passive. The more Exer thought, the tighter her frown. Suddenly, Athantha looked at her father. "Father, it's so hard to choose. I don't know what to do." The man nodded. That's the effect he wants. He's constantly exerting psychological pressure on all the lurkers. You just thought for a while and found it hard to choose. Think about those people. They're hiding in the surroundings, staring at the level 5 treasure chest. How painful would that be? Vithetha was stunned. She never thought that solipsistic's seemingly meaningless actions would have such a deep meaning. Moreover, the man continued, as long as the others don't take the level 5 treasure chest, he's completely capable of keeping his position. At the same time, he can make people forget to join forces to deal with him. If it weren't for these 5 treasure chests, would you have thought of joining forces to eliminate solipsistic first? Exen nodded heavily and said seriously, "Yes, he's putting too much pressure on everyone. If there's no hope, he'll let the others temporarily join forces." That's right. Lone Tyrant left them with a sliver of hope. That's right. Oh my God. Exen exclaimed. This guy is really too scary. At the same time, in the demonic academy, many disciples were having a similar discussion. The dean is really a master of psychological tactics. It's really scary to encounter such an opponent. Grasping the enemy's mentality so tightly that they hate him but don't dare to attack him. Now that I think about it, if I were a contestant, I'd be at a loss. Only Little Beast was frowning. Looking at the seniors around him who were discussing seriously, everyone couldn't hold it in anymore. I say, you're thinking too much. Didn't my dad say that he found it troublesome? That's impossible. He's too lazy to open a level 5 treasure chest. That's a bit too much. Many people questioned. Little Beast shook his head. If you don't believe me, ask Sister Green. No one knows my dad better than her and Xiaomin. Everyone quickly ran in front of Louis. Even a sea of clouds and Etion were asking. Louis was a bit embarrassed. Well, based on my understanding of Boss, I think you're thinking too much. He didn't open the level 5 treasure chest probably because everyone's eyes were fixed on Louis. Because he's too lazy to open it. Louis finally said the answer. Too lazy to open it. The group of people's eyes almost popped out. Was it really as the dean said? Louis nodded. Boss probably doesn't care what skills others get. He's been combining skills for so long. With his personality, he's probably too lazy to change them. The reason why he gathered the treasure chest together, if I'm not wrong, is because he wants others to quickly appear and snatch the treasure chests so that the prodigy competition can end sooner. That. A sea of clouds didn't know what to say for a moment. Everyone felt that Nameless had played a big game of chess, but in reality, Nameless just didn't want to waste time. Sure enough, after Lucien left the treasure chest, he didn't pay attention to it at all. Under the protection of 2 puppets and 2 battle pets, he was lying on the grass, resting. When Exeter saw this, she turned to look at her father. Dad, your analysis just now. The middle-aged man was silent for a long time before he finally said, this guy doesn't play by the rules. Chapter 1097. For the people lurking in the bushes, every minute and every second was torture. They could only stare at the 5 level 5 treasure chests lying there, not daring to appear. Due to Lu Chen's strength, people's desire for the level 5 treasure chests was even stronger. Their current ranking was completely dependent on whether Lu Chen would discover them or not. This feeling was unbearable for these powerhouses. What's more, all 5 treasure chests were there. There were top-notch equipment and skills. They were like extremely tempting beauties, constantly teasing them. This mental torture lasted for an unknown period of time. Finally, someone couldn't bear it anymore. A person quickly used displacement and rushed toward the treasure chests. After the first person appeared, Lu Chen actually didn't appear. Seeing that the person was about to test the treasure chests, another figure finally flashed out, with the few people in front probing. Everyone was shocked to find that the person who had been speeding up actually didn't intercept them at all. This time, the entire battlefield was suddenly in an uproar. More and more people appeared, all for the sake of fighting for the level 5 treasure chests and changing their fate. Hundreds of people had been eliminated in just a dozen minutes of chaotic battle. The Oriole stalks the cicada, unaware of the mantis behind. Just as this wave of chaotic battle was coming to an end, another large group of people came out of the bushes. The chaotic battle continued. Lu Chen hid far away. In any case, the prodigy competition's final ranking was not based on the number of people eliminated, so he didn't want to participate in this chaotic battle at all. However, even though Lu Chen had hidden far enough, he was still discovered. I'll kill you first. A voice suddenly came from behind. The 2 battle pets and 2 puppets in front of Lu Chen were disturbed by this passionate roar and stood up. Lu Chen also looked back in surprise. The person who came was a middle-aged demon spirit man, holding 2 swords and with red eyes. However, when he saw Lu Chen's 2 battle pets and 2 puppets, as well as Lu Chen's surprised gaze, he suddenly froze. In the next second, he quickly changed directions, passed by Lu Chen, and rushed into the chaotic crowd. Kill! That person's voice gradually faded away. Lu Chen frowned slightly. He thought that he had met an expert, but he didn't expect that he was just passing by. However, those people still started to fight in the end. Otherwise, if they all hid in the bushes, who knew how long the prodigy competition would drag on? The situation at the battlefield was extremely intense. Batch after batch of people were eliminated. The moment someone approached the level 5 treasure chest, they would be surrounded and attacked. Half an hour later, Lu Chen checked the number of people. There were still more than 900 people. "Let's wait a little longer," Lu Chen said. 10 minutes later, only 400 people remained in the genius competition. At this moment, a participant successfully snatched a level 5 treasure chest. As he fought fiercely with his opponent, he approached the treasure chest seemingly unintentionally. Then he quickly unleashed his combat power and defeated his opponent. Then, he took the opportunity to quickly snatch the treasure chest behind him. Many of the audience members were impressed by his calmness. They're from the Heavenly Music Parlor. They've handled the details beautifully. Holy shit, a magical treasure has appeared. There are also recovery pills and a Qilin battle pet. A divine beast has appeared. A battle pet is definitely the most useful skill here. The level 5 treasure chest didn't disappoint. In the Heavenly Music Parlor's main hall, the audience was even more excited. Their representative was the first to snatch a treasure chest. Not bad, the items in this treasure chest are very powerful. Luo He has become a strong contender for first place. Luo He majored in beast taming. This time, with the Qilin, he can finally unleash his true strength. Nameless has 2 battle pets and 2 puppets, but their attributes are not on the same level as the Qilin. Even if he uses the speed talisman, he might not be able to win. Plus, Luo He's combat power is extremely strong. Nameless is going to pay the price for his arrogance. As the number of survivors increased, there were more opportunities to fight for the level 5 treasure chest. Not long after, the representative of the Flood Immortal sect was sent flying by a punch and bumped into the treasure chest. He quickly got up and opened the treasure chest. Then he used the swallow reverse instantaneous slash that he had just learned to kill his opponent. Before he could be surrounded, he opened the treasure chest and quickly retreated. Then the 3rd, 4th, and 5th treasure chests were divided among the participants. However, apart from the representatives of the Heavenly Music Parlor and the Flood Immortal sect, the others only touched the treasure chests and took 1 or 2 items before they were surrounded. They could only divide the remaining 3 treasure chests among themselves. On the other hand, the representatives of the Heavenly Music Parlor and the Flood Immortal sect, after a short period of adjustment, once again entered the battleground as super powerful warriors. As super powerful warriors with many level 5 treasure chests, the 2 eliminated dozens of people quickly. As if by prior agreement, the 2 of them set their sights on those who had found a small number of level 5 items. After a series of chaotic battles, the 2 of them collected more advanced equipment and gradually became monsters. In the meantime, Lu Chen saw that the number of participants had finally decreased from 900 to 100. Then there were only 50 participants left. Congratulations, you have made it to the top 50 of this year's competition. When there were only 50 participants left, the stage had undergone a drastic change. The weeds on the ground had all disappeared. The ground of the battleground had turned into a huge arena paved with black rocks. In such an environment, it was no longer possible to hide. Then, several portals suddenly appeared. A few people were teleported to the battleground with dumbfounded expressions. At the same time, a voice came from above the battleground. The weak have no right to be rewarded. All the surviving participants have been teleported to the battleground. If you leave the battleground now, you will be considered eliminated. Lu Chen already understood that such a rule was targeted at those who wanted to survive until the end of the competition. You could make it to the top 50, but there would be no reward for the top 50. If you wanted to make it to the top 10, you would have to have the ability to fight head-on. However, there were only 50 participants left. They were not far from the top 10. It was not an exaggeration to say that this was the final battle. At that moment, several figures suddenly dashed toward Lu Chen from afar. Lu Chen quickly controlled the battle pet puppet to dodge while he moved away to put some distance between himself and the 2 of them. With 2 bangs, the place where Lu Chen had been standing was hit by 3 attacks. Gravel was sent flying everywhere. Lu Chen frowned as he looked at the 2 people standing in front of him. They were the representatives of the Heavenly Music Pavilion and the Hongxian sect. The 2 monsters in legendary equipment had tacitly chosen to attack Lu Chen first. "Hey kid!" The representative of the Heavenly Music Pavilion glared at Lu Chen coldly. "The 5th-rank treasure chest was right in front of you and you didn't open it. I'm sorry, but I'm not afraid of you in my current state." The representative of the Hongxian sect squinted his eyes. "This is what you get for being so arrogant. Once I finish you off, Songyun and I will be able to fight for the top 10 with peace of mind." Lu Chen frowned. "Are you sure you want to challenge me so early? Isn't it wiser for us to make it to the top 10 first and then fight each other later?" "Top 10? Kid, do you think we will let you make it to the top 10? We had to put up with your arrogance because we couldn't deal with your attacks. But I don't want to put up with it anymore," Songyun said angrily. "That's right. You humiliated us with the treasure chest. You didn't think that we would be able to make it to the top 10, did you?" Lu Chen couldn't help but sneer. "You think too much. I just didn't want to change my outfit. Anyway, the items in the chest aren't attractive to me. I might as well let you out so that the competition can end sooner." Lu Chen moved his right hand. The 2 puppets were ready for battle and the 2 battle pets were ready to fight. Lu Chen smiled and said coldly, "Judging by the intensity of the competition, no matter what skills you get, the top 10 will be mine." Chapter 1098. The other contestants were having exciting fights. However, people knew that the battle between Solipsistic and the other 2 would determine the winner. It was unknown how many pairs of eyes were watching this battle. Lu Chen controlled the 2 battle pets and the 2 puppets to deal with the Kirin while he dashed toward Songyun. "Good timing!" Songyun shouted. "Silent falling leaves." Songyun began to teleport. The silent falling leaves couldn't teleport far, but it could be used in multiple stages and the cooldown time was fast. "My silent falling leaves is designed to counter your speed talisman." Songyun snorted. "Repelling shot." With that said, a cannonball dashed toward Lu Chen. Lu Chen quickly used his body technique to dodge. In the meantime, the man from the Hue Immortal sect had finished charging. "Kid, remember not to be so arrogant." Scorching Sun Wild Saber. Dozens of saber lights crisscrossed and chased after Lu Chen's landing point. Right then, the 2 puppets suddenly left the battle between the Kirin and stood on either side of the man from the Hue Immortal sect. The 2 puppets pulled at the same time. Reverse traction. Reverse traction meant that the puppets were pulling the puppets in the opposite direction. The puppets had speed talisman effects, and so did Lu Chen. For a moment, his speed was boosted. While dodging the scorching sun slash, Lu Chen was closing in on his opponent. The man from the Hue Immortal sect opened his eyes wide. He had thought that Solipsistic would only have 1 more helper since he had 2 puppets. However, he didn't expect that 1 more puppet would increase Su Ping's agility. "You want to get close to me? In your dreams." Scorching Sun Wild Saber. Annihilating Sun Chop. That person waved the treasured saber in his hand and sent out a vertical saber chi while retreating quickly. However, as soon as he stopped, he noticed that the 2 puppets were still close to him. Lu Chen sneered. "You can't get away." With that said, Su Ping used Jiang Qingyan to teleport 3 times in a row. With the help of the puppets, he was able to teleport 5 or 6 times. It was hard to track his movements. He was about to reach Su Ping. When Songyun saw this, he shouted, "Kill the puppets first." Then he controlled the Kirin to pounce on one of the puppets. However, on Lu Chen's side, Swanni and the green-scaled Snake King constantly relied on their speed advantage to entangle the Qilin, making it unable to provide support in time. Damn it. That guy's 2 battle pets aren't attacking. They are just trying their best to distract Kirin so that he can't get away. Since Kirin couldn't help him, Songyun had to do it himself. However, during the chase, the advantage of his silent leaves turned into a disadvantage. Although Silent Falling Leaf could teleport multiple times, he was clearly lacking in strength. After all, The distance he could teleport to was too short. No, I have to destroy one of his puppets first. Gray Cloud had already made up his mind. He used his second teleportation skill. Instant change. This time, the long-distance blink skill allowed him to get close to a puppet. The Cold Ice Dragon Taming Sword. Song Yun stabbed out with his sword. Mogard's shield. The puppet immediately activated its defensive skill, but because Song Yun's attack was too strong, although the puppet wasn't destroyed, it was still sent flying. So weak. Song Yun cursed in a low voice. He was about to go after the puppet when he looked up and was stunned. He didn't know when it started, but he was already surrounded by the other party's triangle. The puppet that he had just sent flying was about to stand up. The two puppets and the young man had surrounded him. Lu Chen looked at Song Yun with a creepy smile. Don't you pay attention to your own position when you attack? Do you think I only attack your companions? How naive. Sure enough, some people get carried away when they attack. After saying that, Lu Chen quickly added dozens of speed talismans to the puppet and himself. I spent some time studying the puppet control technique of the new puppet and found that it seems to be able to set up a good attack and killing array. Just in time to see the effect. Lu Chen snorted. Three-way connection. The two puppets, plus Lu Chen's 3 points, all had a connection with each other. The positions of the 3 points began to attract each other, and together with their own movements, they became unpredictable. Solitary Swift Shadow. Lu Chen yelled in a low voice, and his speed suddenly increased. Solitary Tree Swift Shadow was a movement skill, but with the cooperation of the two puppets, Lu Chen's movements became extremely strange, without any pattern to speak of. Although Lu Chen didn't move in a straight line, his speed wasn't slow at all. Suddenly, a figure flashed in front of Song Yun. He was wearing the words, Zhongxian Demonic Academy, on his chest. I said that no matter what skill you get, the result will be the same. Lu Chen yelled in a low voice. Speed Talisman, Bone-Shattering Fist. With a boom, the punches landed on the Flood Immortal Sex Expert's protective shield. You didn't expect me to have a protective shield, right? Song Yun smiled proudly. You're not the only one who can surprise others. Lu Chen snorted coldly and said, How many times can a protective shield save you? Speed Talisman, Bone-Shattering Fist. Lu Chen used his advantage in speed to quickly circle around Song Yun's back and attack him again. The two puppets continuously assisted Lu Chen in changing his position. This scene simply stunned everyone present. Are you kidding me? The puppets are controlling the puppeteer? I've never seen such a strange puppetry technique. Reverse traction can be used like this? This is the first time I've seen it. That guy is really a battle prodigy. His speed is already very fast. Combined with the reverse traction from afar, his movements are even harder to track. That guy's adaptability in battle is like his body's instinct. He probably wanted to trap the person from the Flood Immortal sect. When he saw that the Heavenly Music Pavilion came to rescue him, he immediately changed his strategy and trapped him in an instant. Song Yun was suffering. He was supposed to rescue his comrade from the Flood Immortal sect, but now he was in a fierce battle. His protective shield's level was very high, and it blocked 3 to 4 bone-shattering fists at the same time. However, that guy's attack speed was extremely fast, and his attributes were not low. His protective shield was eventually penetrated. The protective shield is gone. In the Heavenly Music Pavilion's main hall, everyone stood up anxiously from their seats. At this moment of life and death, Song Yun shouted, Speed Talisman. Spiritual Explosives. Song Yun's main occupation was an explosives expert. However, to everyone's surprise, he actually left behind an explosive skill that was rarely used by explosives experts. He threw out more than 10 cannonballs at the same time, and a series of loud explosions erupted in the arena. Boom boom boom. The explosions created a terrifying spiritual energy fluctuation, causing the battlefield to become even more chaotic. However, just when everyone thought that Song Yun had escaped, a white light suddenly flashed, and a low voice shouted, Trying to escape in the chaos? You don't know that I love chaos the most. Tai Chi Sword Shadow. Then, in the midst of the explosion, a thin and sharp sword aura directly pierced through Tsang Yun's body. Chapter 1099. Since Tsang Yun had been eliminated, the Kirin had lost its ability to fight as well. The only one left was the one from the Hongxian sect. As for Lu Chen, he had 2 battle pets, 2 puppets, and Lu Chen himself. There was no doubt about the outcome of the match. Lu Chen and the other 4 launched fierce attacks at the same time. That person struggled for only a few minutes before he was eliminated. The 2 of them had taken most of the items in the 5th level treasure chest. However, they were still defeated by Lu Chen. Inside the heavenly music pavilion, the masters beat their chests and stamped their feet. Why did Tsang Yun have to go after Nameless? Even if he wanted to, he should have waited until he was in the top 10. That's right. As long as they can avoid Nameless, they will definitely be in the top 10, no, the top 5, or even the top 3. Just for the sake of getting first place, I don't even have the reward now. What a double loss. No matter how upset they were, Tsang Yun had been eliminated. Of the remaining people, no one was a match for Lu Chen. Sure enough, after Lu Chen eliminated a few more people, there was only one person left in the decisive battle. Lu Chen looked around. Some people's corpses had not been teleported away in time, but there were no other competitors except for himself. Congratulations, you have won first place in this year's competition. In 3 minutes, you will be teleported back to the preparation area. Your battle pets and puppets will not be taken away. Lu Chen smiled. Finally, it was over. He patted Swan Xiao and the purple-scaled Snake King and nodded to the 2 puppets. Thank you. It's a pity that I can't take you away. At the moment, in the Demonic Academy, the Black Armor King was checking the accounts. As he did so, he laughed in a terrifying way. I've made a fortune. I've made a fortune. I've never seen so much money in my life. Haha, I told you to be careful but you didn't listen to me. Look at you now. Ha. A small number of people who had made it to the top 10 were overjoyed. However, most of them were currently experiencing the darkest moment of their lives. I suddenly missed the dean who couldn't even breathe when he walked. After saying that, Xiao Zhan's expression turned sluggish. 8 million, all gone. He had originally wanted to make a huge profit, but now he was the one who suffered the most. Yi Fan took out his account book. It seemed that the 70,000 spirit stones that he had painstakingly saved up were going to be lost. Why did I choose the one with the lowest odds and the safest odds, yet still lose everything? Yi Fan did not understand. Chu Tian shook his head and sighed. A pack of speed talismans can turn the tables? There's no justice in this world. In the distance, the Black Armor King was shouting loudly, "Junior brothers and sisters who need money recently, if your life is too tight, you can borrow from me. The interest is very low, come and take a look." Yi Fan put down the account book, sighed, and went to line up to borrow money again. He, who was about to reach the shore, once again stepped into the abyss. Just as everyone in the academy was busy settling the accounts, someone suddenly shouted, "Look, someone's causing trouble." Everyone hurriedly looked at the screen. Lu Chen was sent back to the preparation area. As soon as he appeared, he was immediately surrounded by a group of people. Lu Chen looked at the group of fiendish people staring at him in surprise. He frowned slightly. "The competition is over, what are you doing? Kid!" A person pushed aside the people in front of him and rushed in front of Lu Chen. Lu Chen looked over. It was Tsang Yun. Tsang Yun said angrily, "So what if it's the prodigy competition? There's too much chance here. My real strength is not something that the prodigy competition can compare to. Didn't you discover the use of the speed talisman and take first place? You're just 1-star Emperor Xiao. Do you know what level I am? You actually snatched the first place of the Tianjiao tournament from me. I don't accept this." Tsang Yun gritted his teeth in anger. Not only Tsang Yun, but there were also many people glaring angrily at Lu Chen. Someone from a broken academy can take first place? Did you get news from the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace and know how powerful the speed talisman is, so you purposely collected it? That's right. Otherwise, Who would be stupid enough to leave behind so many speed talismans instead of skills and recovery pills? What right does this kind of trash have to take first place? It was the prodigy competition just now. Outside the arena, you're nothing. Celestial Fortress's representative had just taken first place in the top 10. Just as he was feeling excited, he suddenly noticed the commotion and stretched his neck to look over. A group of people was surrounding Nameless. After taking a closer look, Celestial Fortress's representative widened his eyes, his face full of horror. No way. Forget about the prodigy competition. They actually dared to provoke Nameless in real life? This is crazy. They were strong in real life? What a joke. Nameless' real strength was at the peak of level 6. Lu Chen did not intend to make a move. He chuckled. I was wondering what was wrong with you guys. So it's because you can't afford to lose. You guys are strong in real life. What does that have to do with me? It's fine as long as I win the competition. Lu Chen snorted coldly and turned to leave. You want to leave? Tell me clearly, did you cheat or not? A palm pressed on Lu Chen's shoulder. Lu Chen turned his head and looked at the hand on his shoulder. His voice suddenly turned cold. What? Do you want to fight? Let's fight then. I'm full of anger from the prodigy competition. Now that I'm finally out, I can teach trash like you a lesson. With that, the person was about to raise his hand. Suddenly, Lu Chen grabbed that person's wrist and slowly turned around. The one who led the group to provoke him was Heavenly Music Parlor's representative, Song Yun. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. I'll warn you again. If you insist on finding trouble, you may die. You can be arrogant in the prodigy competition. Outside, I'll let you know who's the boss. Song Yun shouted angrily. Since I have nothing left, I won't come here in vain if I cripple you, the number 1. Celestial Demon Symbiosis. Lu Chen shouted in a low voice and directly entered battle mode. His white hair fluttered in the wind and his entire body emitted a terrifying spiritual energy. At this moment, Lu Chen was completely different from the ordinary man from before. At this moment, a voice shouted loudly, Mr. Nameless, please have mercy. Then, a purple figure flashed from afar. However, Lu Chen had no intention of stopping. Sky-breaking sword. With a flash of white light, Lu Chen was already standing behind Song Yun. However, Song Yun didn't even have a chance to react. Until now, the only change was that the ferocious look in his eyes had turned into a look of terror. So, 1-star Emperor Xiu's strength. Impossible. He did not even use a weapon. A moment later, Song Yun's arms were directly cut off. Lu Chen did not even turn his head and said coldly, Remember, I'm someone you can't afford to offend. In front of the screen, Xen-er's breathing was rapid. Looking at the handsome yet ruthless man, her mind went blank. Chapter 1100. Xen-er's eyes widened. Was the handsome man in the image really the cute, solipsistic emperor from before? No, definitely not. When he was serious, it was scary. Solipsistic emperor still showed mercy. At this moment, her father's voice came from behind. He didn't take Song Yun's life in the end, and his arms can be reattached. But this way, no one should be dissatisfied with him anymore. As he said that, the man couldn't help but find it funny. Talking about real combat strength with solipsistic emperor? Isn't that courting death? Before the people from the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace could arrive, Song Yun's arms had been chopped off. Of course, even if they arrived, Lu Chen probably wouldn't stop. He had already warned them twice, and this was already unprecedented. In the end, they didn't believe him, so there was nothing he could do. Those looking for trouble looked at Lu Chen in horror. Just now, Lu Chen didn't activate Soul Body as one, but his speed was so fast that they couldn't react. He had only chopped off Song Yun's arms. If he had stabbed his heart or spirit core, Song Yun would be a dead man now. A 1-star Emperor Xiu could make them all unable to react in time. What kind of terrifying combat strength was that? Who is he? Lu Chen couldn't be bothered to explain. He just looked at the crowd. Is there anyone else looking for trouble? No one dared to answer Lu Chen. At this moment, the people from the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace walked in front of Lu Qin. He glanced at Song Yun, whose arms had been chopped off, and shook his head. He was still too slow. Nameless Emperor's speed was too fast. Just a celestial demon symbiosis and a sky-piercing sword was enough to leave him far behind. Mr. Nameless, the prodigy competition has ended, and the prizes will be sent to Zhongxingu. However, our palace master wants to meet you. Is it convenient for Mr. Nameless? Lu Qin exited the celestial demon symbiosis state and said, I also want to ask the palace master some questions. Senior, please lead the way. Lu Qin followed that person into an independent teleportation gate. Coming out of the portal, Lu Qin found himself standing on a platform suspended in midair. This is the teleportation platform. Sir, please follow me to the main hall of the Heavenly Palace. The man bowed slightly and made an inviting gesture. Space shuttles. Lu Qin was a little suspicious until he saw hundreds of space shuttles docked at the edge of the platform. It was not easy for him to obtain a Mount Magic treasure, but in the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace, it was actually just a public transportation tool. This Royal Heaven Immortal Palace was truly generous. The two of them stepped onto a shuttle, and the shuttle automatically flew towards an immortal island in the sky. Along the way, Lu Qin discovered that although the immortal islands here were also floating in the sky, there were no chains connecting them to each other. It was somewhat different from the immortal mountains of Zhongxingu. It was as if these immortal mountains were suspended in midair by some kind of power. On each of the immortal islands, there were palaces built with bricks. All of the immortal islands were like grand open-air palaces. 10 minutes later, Lu Qin and that person arrived at the Royal Heavenly Great Hall together. At this moment, there were already two people waiting in the Great Hall. Sir Nameless, these two are our Royal Heaven Immortal Palace's Palace Lord, Immortal Master Taihao, and his daughter, Tian Xe. The guide did not continue to lead the way, but only introduced the two of them from afar. Sir Nameless, it's not convenient for me to enter the Great Hall. Please follow me. Lu Qin did not know their rules, so he nodded and said, Thank you, Senior. I'll go over myself. With that, he walked over. From afar, the middle-aged man looked quite sage-like. He was dressed in a white robe and had a long beard. At this moment, he was looking at him with a smile. His daughter had a purple veil on her face, leaving only a pair of lively eyes. Her figure was graceful, but Lu Qin was too embarrassed to stare, so he did not take a closer look. Lu Qin walked in front of the two of them and cupped his fists. Nameless greets Immortal Master Taihao and Miss Tian Xe. Before Taihao could speak, his daughter said disdainfully, Nameless? Do you think I don't know that you're Lu Qin? Lu Qin was stunned. What was going on? Speaking of which, he did mention his name to Li Wei back then. At that time, he was in a life-or-death situation, so he just wanted to prove that he had been here before. But how did this girl know? Moreover, from the way she spoke to him, it did not seem like it was the first time they had met. Lu Qin looked at the girl. Her eyes were as bright as the stars, and her pupils were a rare light purple. He did not seem to have seen this person before. Exeter. Taihao pretended to be angry and shouted at his daughter, Nonsense! Shrunk her neck and glared at Lu Qin bitterly. Her glare made Lu Qin feel confused. Taihao smiled at Nameless. My daughter is naughty. I have spoiled her. Nameless, please don't take offense. Lu Qin naturally would not be unhappy about this. He smiled and said, Senior, you're too serious. May I know why you're looking for me? Taihao smiled and nodded. Nameless, I want to ask you a question. Please ask, Senior. How confident are you in ascending and becoming an immortal? Lu Qin was stunned. He did not expect Taihao to ask this question. Lu Qin himself had not thought about this question. To be honest, I don't know either. You killed the King of Hell, Demon Supremacy. What do you think your strength ranks in the current sixth heaven? Lu Qin answered, about the top 100. Taihao looked at Lu Qin in surprise. The King of Hell is the strongest in the underworld. You killed him. Why do you think you're only in the top 100? Is this your true opinion? Lu Qin answered calmly. I killed the king of hell because I had the advantage of the earth fire. He was afraid of the earth fire and naturally restrained himself. Also, I am not weakened by the underworld. This is something others cannot compare to. The sixth heaven is full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. However, after entering the underworld, they will be greatly weakened. If it was a fair fight, I think I'm not the only one who can kill the king of hell. After listening to Lu Chen's analysis, Tai Hao's eyes were filled with admiration. At such a young age, you are neither arrogant nor impatient. Your vision is indeed extraordinary. However, your analysis is only half correct. Lu Chen frowned slightly. Senior, please enlighten me. Tai Hao put his hands behind his back and looked at the clouds in the distance. Actually, in the sixth heaven and even in the underworld, you are not the only one who has the ability to kill the king of hell. However, you're the only one who's going to do it. Some people are focused on becoming immortals and have no time to care about these trivial matters. However, some people can't wait for the world to be in chaos. They have the ability to protect themselves. Why would they bother to kill the king of hell? Tai Hao looked at Lu Chen meaningfully. When you reach a high enough realm, you only have eyes for immortals. Suddenly, Tai Hao changed the topic. Speaking of which, it's interesting. Not being compassionate is also a necessary condition to pass the tribulation. Lu Chen frowned. A necessary condition to pass the tribulation. In other words, Tai Hao was telling him that in his current state, he could not pass the tribulation successfully. Lu Chen suddenly said, "Could it be that I have to cut off my emotions and desires to pass the tribulation?" Tai Hao shook his head. It's not that absolute. However, you have to know that the more difficult it is to cut off the fetters in your heart, the more terrifying the tribulation you will suffer. The so-called emotions and desires are just obstacles in your pursuit of the great Tao. I know you are also a sentimental person, so you don't have to pass the tribulation to become immortal and go to the seventh heaven. After Tai Hao finished speaking, he stared at Lu Chen. Tian Xenther did the same. They were nervously observing Lu Chen's every move and subtle expression. After a long silence, Lu Chen finally raised his head. Senior Tai Hao asked me to come here to tell me this. Thank you for the reminder. Then, Lu Chen changed the topic. However, I will not let go of my emotions and desires. I will not stop at the sixth heaven. As for the powerful tribulation, Lu Chen snorted. I will break it. Chapter 1101. Tai Hao looked at Lu Chen and frowned slightly. You really don't plan to stay in the sixth heaven? Even if the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace wants to recruit you? I can tell you responsibly that no one in the sixth heaven can defeat the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. If you're willing to stay, your demonic academy can develop independently from the Zhongxingu. I can even arrange a new continent for you and let the demonic academy become the headquarters. You know how many resources the headquarters has. Actually, if you're willing, you can even become the future master of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. Lu Chen frowned. Tai Hao's offer was too scary. The master of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace? He wanted to take him in as a disciple and give him the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. At this time, Tai Hao revealed his real purpose, which was to recruit Lu Chen. Lu Chen didn't hesitate at all in the face of such a tempting offer. Thank you for your kindness, Senior Tai Hao, but the sixth heaven isn't my end. As for the demonic academy, I believe that the disciples of the academy will make the demonic academy famous in the world one day. Suppression couldn't stop Lu Chen, and neither could the temptation of benefits. Tai Hao was silent for a moment. Looking at Lu Chen's determined gaze, he sighed softly. Looks like you've made up your mind. The girl beside Tai Hao's eyes dimmed a little. Her father did want to take in Nameless as a disciple. She knew that it wasn't just because of Solipsistic's heaven-defying strength and performance in the prodigy competition, but also because of her. However, Nameless' answer left no room for discussion. Even though she knew that Nameless didn't have much interaction with her and didn't even know her identity, Tian Xen was still a little disappointed. Seeing that the other party was no longer talking about the recruitment, Luchin said, Senior Taihao, in fact, I also have two things that I would like to ask you about. What is it? Taihao asked. The first thing is, I wonder if Senior Taihao knows about the Thunder Academy. Thunder Academy? Taihao recalled and said, Oh, I remember now. That's the academy from the Immortal Pavilion. Their strength is always in the top 3 in the Kunlun continent. Luchin sighed in his heart. The people in the mountains gave him 2 academies to choose from, but he had to meet the bankrupt academy. If he had joined the Thunder Academy from the start, how comfortable his life would be. However, this time, he finally knew the location of the Thunder Academy. When he had time, he would go and take a look. Why are you interested in the Thunder Academy? Taihao looked at Luchin. Oh, it's nothing, a friend. Luchin casually made up an excuse. There is another matter I wish to ask Senior about. How can I obtain Immortal Academy's qualifications? Taihao explained at Immortal Academy. That requires your academy to reach the level of Sacred Academy. When you reach the Sacred Academy, your 9-path star map formation will be activated. There are a total of 81 pathways in the star map formation. Each pathway has 81 checkpoints. The difficulty of the checkpoints on each pathway increases with each level. There are a total of 6,561 checkpoints. Each disciple can only challenge the star map formation once. No matter if they succeed or not, they can't challenge it again. When all the checkpoints are cleared, your academy will have its own star map and naturally become Immortal Academy. Of course, don't underestimate each checkpoint. Even if it's the easiest checkpoint, normal people who haven't reached the Mortal King realm shouldn't waste their chance to pass it. Although your academies are very talented, but I don't need you to let them pass the checkpoints rashly. Taihao added in the end, oh, right, only disciples can pass the checkpoints. Instructors and deans can't pass the checkpoints. Luchin felt his scalp go numb. They had to become Sacred Academy first, and then let the students pass more than 6,000 checkpoints. The checkpoints could only be challenged at the Mortal King realm. The difficulty was unimaginable. No wonder there were so many Sixth Heaven Academies, but only a few could reach Immortal Academy. That might be the result of thousands of years of accumulation. Luchin sighed, looking very disappointed. Nameless, why do you ask about Immortal Academy? Luchin shook his head. I want to go down to the lower realm once, but only Immortal Academy's teleportation gate can do that. I don't know how long I have to wait. Taihao couldn't help but laugh when he heard that. Ha, so you just want to go down to the lower realm. I thought you were going to do something big again. Nameless, isn't it just the lower realm? I can send you down here. Of course, if you don't want to owe me this favor, you just won the prodigy competition. Zhongxian Gu can't refuse, right? Letting you go down to the lower realm once, they can still do it. Lu Chen's eyes lit up when he heard that. Taihao could also see that Lu Chen was in a hurry to leave. He took out a token from his backpack and handed it to Lu Chen. Nameless, this is my Emperor Heaven Immortal Palace's token. Even if you don't want to stay, one more friend means one more path. If you have time, come and visit more often. There are people here who welcome you very much. Taihao's gaze clearly glanced at Tian Xing as he spoke, and his tone was also strange. Luchin blinked his eyes. Was there a friend of his here? He didn't see any. However, Taihao had always been very polite to him, and Luchin didn't mind having more friends, so he took the token. All right, I see that you seem to have something urgent, so I won't keep you. I'll have Dong Chu bring you to the teleportation platform. You can directly teleport back to Zhongxiangu. After Luchin bid farewell to the two of them, he saw that Dong Chu was still waiting for him outside the palace, so he followed him onto the shuttle and headed to the teleportation platform. A golden fish is not a fish in a pond. Taihao looked at Tian Xing. I've tried my best. I've forgotten how long it's been since I begged someone to join the Immortal Palace, but I was still rejected. Tian Xing kept looking at that figure from afar. That man killed the king of hell but didn't leave his name. He didn't care about fame or how others saw him. In the prodigy competition, he easily won despite being at an extreme disadvantage. The domineering and arrogant performance in the competition simply made her heart flutter. When she thought of his usual performance, it was hard for her to associate this super powerhouse with that silly boy. Her heart was filled with admiration and curiosity. This was the most important thing. "Father, since you can't keep him, then I'll do it myself." With that, Exe ran out of the palace. "Exe, where are you going?" The 36 stratagems, the honey trap. Exer's answer came from afar. Taihao frowned. This girl was so proactive? However, if he could take Nameless for his own use, he wouldn't object. Moreover, judging from Nameless' character, it should be safe for his daughter to go to him. His only worry was, "Honey trap? Are you sure this trick will work on Nameless?" Chapter 1102. When Lu Chen returned to Zhongxingu, Mabe and the rest of the Sengoku welcomed him personally. "Congratulations, Brother Nameless, on your triumphant return." Mabe hurried over to Lu Chen, his face beaming. "Originally, the immortal sovereign wanted to welcome you personally, but there was a last-minute meeting at the headquarters. He waited for you for a long time, but you didn't return, so he had to leave first." Lu Chen didn't mind at all, but when he saw Mabe's happy face, he couldn't help but want to give him a blow. "I wanted to just get into the top 10, but you guys got lucky. There are 3 tribulation pills for first place, right?" No, Brother Nameless, it's true that we got 3 tribulation pills, but you can take a look at the resources we gave to the divine demons. It's definitely much more than what we promised you. Besides, your personal reward is quite a lot too. A tribulation transcendence pill, an immortal pill formula, 300,000 cash withdrawal tickets, 100,000 reputation points, and a high-grade cash withdrawal ticket. Even I'm jealous just looking at it. Huang Xian added, "Nameless, we've already prepared food and wine for you to welcome you back. You've done us a great service." Lu Chen shook his head. "Forget about the welcome dinner, but I do need you guys to do me a favor." Mabe and the rest stopped and looked at Lu Chen. "Brother Nameless, if there's anything you need our help with, as long as it's within our abilities, we won't shirk away." From the looks of it, Zhongxingu completely understood now. Suppress Lu Chen? It's definitely better to rope him in. "I want to descend to the lower realm once," Lu Chen said. "Lower realm?" Mabe frowned and thought for a while. "This?" Lu Chen frowned. "What's wrong? You can't arrange it?" "It's not that we can't arrange it. Our Zhongxianji's portal can descend to the lower realm, but the Jiotian has strict restrictions on the lower realm, so even we can't use the portal without permission." "So?" Lu Chen asked. Taihao had clearly said that Zhongxiangu could descend to the lower realm. If they continued to find excuses, then Lu Chen would definitely not call Zhongxiangu brothers anymore. Mabe said, "Nameless brother, I can help you arrange the lower realm, but you have to defeat me and not disturb the overall situation of the lower realm. You also know that you have changed the rules of the heaven domain that you have passed through." I am really a little worried." Lu Chen smiled. So this was what Mabe was worried about. Fortunately, they didn't lie to him. It was normal for Mabe and the others to have such concerns. "Don't worry, I'm just going to deal with a personal matter. I won't disturb the order of the lower realms. You can rest assured about that." Mabe looked at Lu Chen. Nameless rarely went back on his word. "If you are going to deal with a personal matter, then I will arrange it immediately." "I wonder how long Brother Nameless will be gone and when will you leave? Can you directly teleport to the 2nd heaven?" Lu Chen didn't want to be teleported from the 4th or 5th heaven to the 2nd heaven. Of course, it would be best if they could go directly. "Okay, I will go back to the academy to prepare first. We will leave in 3 days." As Zhongxiangu arranged for people to send the demonic academy's reward, Lu Chen's personal reward, and Lu Chen himself to the demonic academy. Sitting on the huge white crane, the dozen or so Zhongxiangu disciples sat in the distance and looked at Lu Chen. Did he really just come to the 6th heaven for more than a year? He killed the king of hell and ranked first in the prodigy tournament. He is really strong. He is the strongest newcomer in the history of the 6th heaven. You saw his performance in the prodigy tournament. He is really not human. Oh, and in the preparation area, he cut off Song Yun's arm. Don't be fooled by his good temper usually. When he is angry, it is really scary. A beautiful female disciple bravely walked to Lu Chen's side. Nameless Senior, Lu Chen turned his head and looked at her strangely. What is it? Being looked at by Lu Chen like this, the elf girl's face was boiling hot. Senior, I want to ask, how do you operate the puppet's reverse traction? I also have the reverse traction skill, but usually, I can only use it to change my position a few times. I can't do it like you, quickly switching back and forth with the puppet and changing position multiple times. So she came to ask questions. Lu Chen smiled slightly. I'm not a senior. Let's talk about it. Your problem should be that the use of spiritual power is not consistent enough. The root of the problem is that you are not prepared for your next move in advance. But in actual combat, how can you always maintain such a clear mind? After all, the enemy's movements are also changing. It is actually very simple. Keep suppressing the opponent and make him move according to your thoughts. Naturally, you will have enough time to prepare for your next move in advance. The girl's eyes widened. In the Prodigy tournament, they only saw Nameless' brilliant use of puppet techniques, but they did not expect that what they could not see was the most terrifying. They could imagine why Song Yun was so angry. In the Prodigy tournament, he was suppressed by Lu Chen everywhere. He was probably angry because he was suppressed. Nameless was easy to say, but thinking about it carefully, to be able to make the opponent move according to one's wishes, one must have a lot of combat experience to be able to do this. These Zhongxian Gu disciples, no matter which academy they went to, would be respectfully addressed as Immortal Master. But in front of Lu Chen, she felt that she was like a student, shocked speechless by the teacher's profound theory. The disciples of the demonic academy were all people with heaven-defying luck. Otherwise, how would they be able to join the demonic academy and have the opportunity to listen to such teachings? Most importantly, their dean was usually too amiable and approachable. She was so envious that she wanted to cry. That, Nameless Dean, how is your academy's enrollment situation recently? The girl suddenly asked. Lu Chen shook his head. We could have entered the rankings long ago, but something happened in the underworld. During that period of time, we did not enroll students and wasted more than half a year. Recently, you also know that our academy does not have priority in enrolling students, and the number of students is not increasing quickly. It is already not bad if we can have 10 new students a day. The girl nodded and said blankly, Are you sure that your requirements are not too high? A lower academy that did not even have an enrollment office had hundreds of people lining up at the entrance to take the test every day. This kind of thing had never happened before. Not long after, they had already arrived at the demonic academy. Lu Chen was also full of joy. After all, this was his home in the sixth heaven. Little brats, you all missed me, right? The dean is back. Ha! When Yi Tian and a sea of clouds saw that Lu Chen had returned, they hurriedly went to the training field to welcome him. However, what made Lu Chen feel strange was that no one missed him. Other than Little Beast and a few students, he did not know where the students in the entire academy had gone. Even the welcoming team was made up of 2 or 3 kittens. Where is everyone? Lu Chen asked in surprise. They are all cultivating? A sea of clouds was speechless. Nameless, it's like this. Recently, we have opened up a few new businesses, and the students have all gone to do small jobs. Ah! Lu Chen was dumbfounded. Weren't they all too lazy to do work in the past? We even had to hire people from other academies. Why are they all so hardworking now? Right at this moment, the Black Armor King swaggered into the training field. Lu Chen looked back and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He did not know when this guy had become so eye-catching. His hairstyle had also changed. Now he had a swept-back hairstyle. He had at least 5 sets of weapons on him. There were all kinds of swords, spears, rods and sticks. Although they could not be used at the same time, they still had to be on him. There were 3 magic treasures hanging beside him. They seemed to be the magic treasures of his battle soul, and now they had all appeared. His clothes had also changed into the most expensive multi-layered clothes. There was an inner lining, outerwear, cloak, carved dragons and phoenixes. The workmanship was extremely exquisite. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly, his face full of surprise. This guy, how did he become like this? Chapter 1103. From the introduction of A Sea of Clouds, Lu Chen finally understood how Black Armor King made his fortune. In this prodigy competition, he was the one who earned the most. Now, he was so proud that he didn't know what to do. There was no other way. There was simply too much money. Lu Chen frowned. All the students bet that I won't be able to enter the top 10? These bunch of little bastards actually want me to lose. Don't they want the school's resources? Nameless. Actually, the students are earning quite a lot from other schools. Lu Chen suddenly became angry. Black Armor King, come over here. Black Armor King, who was so proud of himself, heard a familiar voice. Suddenly, he felt as if he was struck by lightning. Only when he saw the president's dark face did he realize that the president was back. President, why did you come back? Black Armor King jogged over. You opened a gambling house? You earned quite a lot. Lu Chen looked at the luxuriously equipped Black Armor King with a strange gaze. President, I didn't earn much. Not much. Not much? Why do I feel like you're about to ascend to heaven? Lu Chen said fiercely, how much did you earn? In front of Lu Chen, Black Armor King's arrogance disappeared. He lowered his head and said honestly, not much. I only earned about 3 billion. Lu Chen almost had a heart attack. This guy's assets were more than the school's savings. The school also had to open a trading house and pay salaries. In fact, they only had about 1 billion spirit stones left. Lu Chen frowned. Old Hai, the fish farm that we wanted to rent last time, was it because we didn't have enough funds? Lu Chen nodded and looked at Black Armor King. Black Armor King, don't you know that you opened a gambling house in the school without permission? President, the school didn't say that we can't open a gambling house. Other schools have their own gambling houses too. Black Armor King was confused. Yes, the academy's rules don't say that we can't gamble, but... Lu Chen thought for a moment and continued, but using the dean's ranking as a wager is disrespectful to me. Old Hai, is there a rule in the academy about not respecting elders? Yes, they have no respect for their elders. Serious cases can result in expulsion from the academy. Black Armor King sucked in a breath of cold air. Expelled from the academy. It was a serious crime. Lu Chen nodded in satisfaction. The contestants from other academies are all students, so it doesn't matter if there's a bet or not. However, Godfiend is different. I'm the contestant. In other words, the dean. Tell me, not only do you not want me to get a good ranking, but you also want to take the opportunity to amass money. Is that appropriate? Lu Chen's words made the Black Armor King's face turn pale. Principal, Black Armor King's mind raced as he finally figured out where the problem lay. This wasn't a matter of whether the rules were set or not, it was a matter of not satisfying the director. After all, the rules were set by the dean. He had the final say. If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. He quickly pulled Lu Chen to the side and whispered, Principal, I don't mean to disrespect you. If not for the fact that the dean suppressed the experts from the other continents, I, Black Armor King, would not be where I am today. This is a 1 billion spirit stone card. Black Armor King secretly passed a spirit stone card to Lu Chen with a smile. Lu Chen shook his head without looking at the spirit stone card. Black Armor King was shocked. Boss is not satisfied. He gritted his teeth and took out another spirit stone card. This is 500 million. I don't have any more. I have already put away the rest of the money. Lu Chen glanced at Black Armor King. He didn't need spirit stones at all. After all, he had a huge spirit stone mine in the 5th layer of heaven. In terms of wealth, he could crush Black Armor King. Speaking of which, those brats actually bet on him losing? The Black Armor King had won them all, so Lu Chen was quite happy in his heart. The main reason was that Lu Chen couldn't catch anyone else. Thus, he dragged Black Armor King over to scare him. Why would I want your spirit stones? Lu Chen stared at Black Armor King and touched his chin. Although your business mind is not bad, you can't only care about yourself. In the future, you are not allowed to set up private bets. If you want to open one, do it in the name of the academy. Ah. What? Lu Chen stared at Black Armor King. All you think about is earning money. Your talent needs to be used on the right path. In the future, the academy's foreign trade will be handed to you. This, Principal I. Black Armor King's eyes widened as he looked at Lu Chen in shock. Lu Chen said, "You don't want to?" "No, of course I want to," Black Armor King hurriedly said. "Yi Fan and that bunch of brats are too talented. Gray Crow, Bai Yi and I can't compare to them in cultivation. We also want to do something in other areas so that we won't be surpassed by them one by one." Black Armor King said seriously. "Principal, are you really letting me manage the trade?" Lu Chen smiled. "You are the earliest students of the Divine Devil Academy. How can you not be noticed? I just hope that you can play a more useful role in the areas you are good at. Actually, I have long wanted to buy a few strength testing stones. Previously, the World Edge Pavilion had a few testing stones. Others don't have them. I also want to get a few," Lu Chen said with longing in his eyes. "Also, the academy's renovation is still a bit shabby. As for the materials, I just found out that some of them can be bought through special channels. If I can buy them with spirit stones, I will buy them with spirit stones first. Principal, leave it to me. I think I can earn all this money for you," Black Armor King said excitedly. "Actually, what's the use of earning so many spirit stones? If we can make the academy stronger, we will have more room for improvement." Lu Chen nodded in satisfaction. "I believe in you. All right, I will tell Old C and the others about this. You can go first." "Yes, Principal." "Wait." Lu Chen suddenly called out to Black Armor King. "What other instructions do you have for me? Change your appearance. Make yourself look like a nouveau riche. How are you going to represent the academy when negotiating with others in the future?" Black Armor King scratched his head in embarrassment. "Yes, Principal. I will go back and do it now." A sea of clouds looked at Black Armor King's back as he ran away and smiled. This kid is really lucky. Not only did he earn a lot of money, but he also got promoted. However, he is indeed the most suitable person to be in charge of the trade department. "The academy needs too much money," Etienne said. "At least, we don't have to see him walking around with his nose in the air every day." A sea of clouds smiled. Lu Chen smiled. Black Armor King was also a talent. It was just that his talent was not in cultivation. He believed that he would help the academy earn more spirit stones in the future. "All right, Old C, Old E, I will be returning to the second heaven in 3 days. Today, I brought back the rewards I won from the Prodigy tournament. There are quite a lot of resources. In these 2 days, let's reorganize the academy's rewards and benefits," Lu Chen said. "Okay." A sea of clouds immediately asked Long Xiang and the others to check and organize the resources. "Nameless, how long will you be in the second heaven?" Lu Chen thought for a moment and shook his head. "I don't know." This time, when he returned to the second heaven, Lu Chen was going to the River of Forgetfulness. Mengpa said that because he did not return to the second heaven in time, the girl's fate had changed. When he saw her again, he did not know whether they would be friends or enemies. Thinking of this, Lu Chen sighed. "Actually, I should have gone earlier." Chapter 1104. Lu Chen, a sea of clouds, and Etienne had been busy for 2 days to improve the students' daily welfare. After replenishing a large number of resources, the students could receive some basic supplies every month. Coupled with the ranking rewards from the arena, the Demonic Academy was now not much different from the other academies. In addition, in these few days, the seal on the academy's herb garden was also lifted. The herb garden of the sacred courtyard of Wunyan was very large. Lu Chen suddenly thought that he could bring the medicine boy over from the second heaven this time. Then he could plant herbs in the academy. On the 3rd day, Lu Chen went to Zhongxiangu. Shen Liang Immortal Venerable had not returned yet. He did not know what urgent matter had taken him so long. Nameless, the portal exit will automatically disappear after you leave and reappear in 30 days. You have to pay attention to the time, Mabe said. Okay. Lu Chen followed Mabe to the portal. Lu Chen walked directly into the portal. When Lu Chen opened his eyes, he found that he was already in the novice village of the second heaven. Things remained the same, but people had changed. All of a sudden, it brought back a lot of memories for Lu Chen. This novice village was not the novice village where Lu Chen was born. It was called Long Distance Village. Occasionally, some teams that had just arrived at the second heaven would spawn around Lu Chen. He still remembered that when he had just arrived at the second heaven, he had provoked the people of the Holy Mountain. Later, he had directly seized their main city. So, what state should I be in now? Lu Chen looked at his attributes. He was actually in his original state. As a person from the lower realm, Lu Chen maintained the attributes of the sixth heaven and entered the second heaven in his original state. Of course, even in his original state, Lu Chen's current attributes were very terrifying, not to mention that he had the soul-body unification. In the second heaven, Lu Chen's strength was far beyond everyone's. Some of the people who had just reached the second level of heaven were just like Lu Chen back then. They were all dumbfounded. However, there were also many high-level players in the novice village. After all, Lu Chen had increased the difficulty of the second heaven to hell mode. It was quite difficult to leave the novice village. At this moment, a young man walked up and said to Lu Chen, "Hey, friend, where's your team? Our party is a 10-man elite party. It's a little difficult to survive here. Everyone here is new. If your party is strong enough, we can consider forming a party to hunt the silver werewolves outside." Lu Chen smiled. This scene reminded him of when he first came to the second heaven. Unfortunately, he was not here to experience life. He smiled and said, "Thank you, but I still have something to do, so I won't be farming." "Aren't you going to farm after coming to the second heaven?" "I'm here to look for something." After Lu Chen finished speaking, he opened the map of the second heaven that he hadn't seen in a long time. There was still plenty of time. Since he was already here, he might as well head over to the Earth Alliance to take a look. He did not want to scare the newbies around him. After all, he had promised Mabe that he would try his best not to cause too much of a commotion. After declining the other party's invitation, Lu Chen walked out of the village alone. He wanted to find a secluded place to summon Nine-Winged. Lu Chen frowned slightly. There are so many monsters outside the novice village? Then he used Great Ravager and easily killed a few silver werewolves. Some items dropped on the ground. Lu Chen was too lazy to look at them. He directly summoned Nine-Winged and flew to the Earth Alliance. Not long after, a few people looked at the corpses of the silver werewolves on the ground in horror. They could not believe their eyes. "Oh my God, who killed these werewolves? They didn't even pick up the items? Hurry up and loot them. They might have died together with the werewolves. These werewolves will drop dark gold." After saying that, a few people frantically looted the corpses. Not long after, Lu Chen arrived at the Earth Alliance. There were not many people from Earth here. Although the guide plan focused on nurturing a small number of people, and there were many people who were still in the low-level heavens, the level of the second heaven was too low. Most of the people who were still here were some old people and children. After Lu Chen came down from Nine-Winged and arrived at the Earth Alliance, he was stopped by a few guards. The guards in charge of security were very young. They were probably left behind to protect these Earth players. However, their IDs were displayed above their heads. The prefix was Wild Waves Guild. It was the people from Wild Waves who had left behind to protect these weak players. Lung Nua, this girl? Lu Chen shook his head. On one hand, it could be that Lung Nua was meticulous and left people to protect these weaker players. On the other hand, it meant that the current Wild Waves had already participated in the military's activities. It could be seen how terrifying its power was. "Hey, you are..." Two guards noticed Lu Chen. After walking up, they looked at Lu Chen strangely. "I am an Earthling." Lu Chen smiled slightly. "Earthling? Why are you still in the second heaven? Which guard team are you from?" Lu Chen said, "I'm just here to take a look." "Why do I feel that you are acting suspiciously?" The other person had been observing Lu Qin and seemed very cautious. What is your player's serial number? Player's serial number? Lu Qin was stunned for a moment. He had not returned to Earth for a long time. There was still such a thing? I don't have a serial number. However, I am indeed an Earthling. I am from Huaxia. To be more precise, I am also from Wild Waves, Lu Qin explained. The few of them quickly realized that a large group of guards had surrounded them. How can you not have a serial number? Don't talk about Wild Waves. You don't even have a serial number. How can you be from Wild Waves? Tell us, who are you? What is your purpose of coming here? If you don't tell us, don't blame us for being rude. Lu Qin shook his head. Perhaps his appearance had changed. These people actually did not recognize him. Lu Qin had no choice but to reveal his ID. A golden ID appeared in front of everyone. Wild Waves Guild Leader, Solipsistic. Seeing these words, the 20 to 30 guards were stunned. Solipsistic? Mad God. Wild Waves Guild Leader? Isn't the guild leader Cold God? No, Cold God's title is Vice Guild Leader. This is Guild Leader. Although there was only a one-word difference between Vice Guild Leader and Guild Leader, the difference between them did not need to be explained at all. Mad God? It's really you? Oh my God, I'm seeing a living Mad God. Oh my God, I can't take it anymore. Are you really Mad God? Why do I feel that you are different from before? Also, you are not this tall. Previously, Mad God was said to be only 1.75 meters tall. Lu Qin smiled slightly. You will know in the future. Then he put away his ID. Is the Earth Alliance still peaceful now? Lu Qin asked. After everyone knew Lu Qin's identity, they immediately became fans and rushed to answer. It's pretty good. No one is causing trouble for us here. My legs are inconvenient in the real world, so I have been staying in the second heaven. However, I heard from my friends in the real world that our people are quite popular in the third, fourth, and fifth heaven. Hearing this news, Lu Qin was relieved. He had paved the way for the players on Earth, and it was finally working. But I see that you guys are very vigilant. Lu Qin asked another question. Oh, it's like this. I was temporarily transferred from the third heaven. A middle-aged white man said, I heard that some time ago, there was a strange woman who kept looking over here. She didn't hurt us, but the higher-ups thought that person was too strange, so they urgently transferred some people to strengthen the security here. What kind of person is she? Lu Qin suddenly realized that this matter sounded a little strange. Speaking of which, it's strange. The person from the third heaven said, I heard that no one saw her face clearly, but from her body shape, she seemed to be a woman. After our group of people came down, she never appeared again. How long ago did this happen? Lu Qin asked. A few months ago. Anyway, I haven't seen her in the past 4 months. Oh, by the way, someone seemed to have heard her repeating a sentence. What did she say? She seemed to keep saying, what did I forget? Chapter 1105. Lu Qin frowned slightly when he heard the guard's words. Could it be that girl? Can you take me to the place where she appeared? No problem. The guard leading the way still needed to go back to protect the Earth Alliance, so Lu Qin asked them to go back first. That woman had not appeared for several months. Lu Qin looked around at the foot of the mountain and did not find any clues. It was almost evening, and the sunset glow painted half of the sky red. Lu Qin was stunned when he saw this. This scene was so familiar. It was just that it was familiar, but he could not remember. After trying a few times, Lu Qin shook his head. It was just a feeling, and it might not even have anything to do with that woman. There was no need to waste any more time here. Let's go back to the army first. 9 Wing, let's go. As they approached the Spirit Condensation Mountain range, Lu Qin realized that 9 Wing had stopped flying. It was probably affected by the turbulence above the mountain range. Until now, not many people knew that there was a hidden force hidden in the Spirit Condensation Mountain range. Lu Qin spread his wings and returned to the monster army. The medicine boy was in a large field, looking down at the growth of the herbs. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him. Xiao Kuang? The medicine boy could not believe his eyes. His boss was back. The medicine boy's eyes turned red immediately. Lu Chen smiled. Little Tong, thank you for your hard work. As he spoke, Lu Chen released Little Green, Xiao Min, Rhubarb, Furball, and Originator. Little Green Xiao Min. The medicine boy was arrogant and looked about the same age as Xiao Min. He kept calling them Xiao Kuang and Little Green, but anyone could see that he was very excited. The reunion of good friends made the atmosphere lively. Lu Chen looked at the army. It was larger than the last time he left. It seemed that the army hall had been upgraded. Little Tong, did you level up this? The alchemy apprentice said proudly, that's right. Didn't you give me a lot of reputation? Big mountain, big idiot, 2 idiots, and the others are all very high-leveled now. There's also the Kuei cows you brought back last time. With our strength, we can do whatever we want in the second heaven. I got the mountain, Erzhan, 3 idiots and the others to go and catch a lot of wild monsters. While they were at it, they also raised the level of the army to level 6. Can Mountain and the others catch wild beasts? The medical apprentice was now the vice captain and had the authority to appoint people. However, Mountain and the others probably did not have any intelligence and only knew how to fight. I got them some spirit in lightning grass and trained them for a while. Now they have a certain level of spiritual intelligence, the medicine boy said casually. Fuck? Is that okay? Lu Chen widened his eyes. The medicine boy said discontentedly. Is it strange? Isn't this a very simple thing? The spirit in lightning grass is relatively rare, and it can only be found in the 5th celestial layer and above. Last time, Little Green said it was the young returning grass, but I knew she was wrong. Although the 2 herbs look almost identical, and even their medicinal effects are the same, the stem of the spirit in lightning grass has 4 more veins. I recognized it as spirit in lightning grass at a glance. Then I cultivated some. Lu Chen and Lu Yi were speechless. How could he see that there were 4 extra veins on the stem? To the medicine boy, this was a very simple thing. However, to others, this was simply a fantasy. Well, in terms of medicinal herbs, the medicine boy was definitely the best. Just as the few of them were chatting, a few silly figures ran over. Lu Chen looked back. The mountain, Erzhan, 3 idiots, 7 heads, 10 tigers. These army members who had accompanied Lu Chen to level up were all staring at him blankly. You guys, Captain? The mountain and Erzhan actually spoke. Awoo. The 3 strong gnolls stared at Lu Chen with their 6 small red eyes. 7 heads' head hung to the side with a horrified expression. Captain! 10 tigers directly pounced to Lu Chen's side and rubbed against Lu Chen to show their intimacy. They really recognize boss. Xiaomin said happily. Lu Chen's eyes were also a little red. They only gained a little spiritual intelligence after he left, but they recognized him. In other words, even if they did not gain spiritual intelligence, they still remembered him. Good, very good. You all gained spiritual intelligence. Lu Chen laughed excitedly. After the army leveled up, a new building appeared, the Martial Arts Hall. This was a place specially for army members to learn new skills. Currently, the army had more than 1,000 members. Under the management of the medicine boy, they were orderly and were still growing. Lu Chen told the medicine boy about the academy's herb field. Unexpectedly, the medicine boy did not want to go. Little Kong, I kind of like it here. The medicine boy said. It's very safe here. I'm not lonely here at all, and I have a lot of things to do. You can give the academy's herb field to Little Green. I'll teach her the herbs I've organized in the past 2 days. Her comprehension is very high, so it won't be difficult for her to learn. If there are any herbs that you urgently need, you can directly go to the herb warehouse. I'll cultivate them. The difference between the medicine boy and Louis was that the medicine boy could cultivate large amounts of herbs in a very short period of time. This was something that Louis could not learn. However, with the army's herb warehouse, this problem could be solved. Lu Chen frowned. You really don't want to go to level 6? The medicine boy nodded. I can't bear to leave Shan and the three idiots. If I leave, they can only be walking corpses. I want to continue training them and let them have the intelligence of a normal person. Looking at the medicine boy's determined gaze, Lu Chen sighed. The medicine boy had spent more time with Shan and the three idiots than with him. It was normal that he could not bear to leave them. Little Kwang, it doesn't matter where I am. Besides, the Academy's herb field serves the Academy. I don't want to help others cultivate herbs. I hope you can agree to let me stay here. Lu Chen was the medicine boy's master. If he insisted, the medicine boy would still have to follow Lu Chen. However, Lu Chen would never force others, even his ghost pet was no exception. Finally, he nodded. I respect your decision. By the way, I'm also looking for items to help you guys be reborn. When I've collected all of them, you, Little Green, and Xiaomin won't have to be ghost pets anymore. Yes, I know. Little Green told me. The medicine boy's eyes were wet. After holding it in for a long time, he finally opened his mouth. Boss, thank you. This guy actually called Lu Chen boss. This was the first time. He had never heard of an owner who would go to such extent for a ghost pet. Lu Chen smiled. What are you thanking me for? You are all my family. The medicine boy nodded heavily. Then he walked to Lu Chen's side and hugged Lu Chen's waist tightly. Yes. After saying that, he could not stop crying. Lu Chen touched his head and shook it. Hey, don't cry. I'm not crying. At night, Lu Chen rested alone in his room. The river of forgetfulness. Lu Chen's gaze was particularly serious. Mengpa said that he had to wait until he had the strength to enter the sixth heaven before he could hope to take out the 2 drops of tears. This meant that there must be something guarding the river of forgetfulness. He took out the prize from the Prodigy tournament and made the final preparations for going to the river of forgetfulness. Chapter 1106. He used all the 300,000 appearance extraction scrolls and added them to the 3rd dimension. Lu Chen's current spiritual power was enough for him to use without using the soul body fusion scrolls. He added them to the 3rd dimension to increase his attack and stamina. Lu Chen chose to extract 9-winged from the advanced item extraction scrolls. The other equipment could be used in the soul body fusion scroll state, so there was no rush to extract them. Moreover, the mount advancement pill that Lu Chen had obtained from the Soul Martial Hall could only be used after 9-winged completed the extraction process. As the most important reward of the Prodigy competition, Lu Chen did not need the Tribulation Transcendence pill for now. Lu Chen directly gave the advanced Immortal pill formula to Little Green. The 100,000 reputation points allowed Lu Chen's Dean reputation to rise from nameless to famous. I feel that other than the appearance extraction scrolls, there are no other substantial improvements. Lu Chen complained. Let's upgrade 9-winged. Then, Lu Chen went to an open area and summoned 9-winged. Now, 9-winged could be summoned without the need for soul body fusion. Lu Chen took out the mount advancement pill and threw it to 9-winged. 9-winged opened its mouth and swallowed it. As soon as it swallowed the advancement pill, 9-wing's reddish-brown eyes trembled. It seemed that the advancement pill was changing 9-wing's body. Roar! With a furious roar, 9-winged could not control its strength and spat out a pillar of fire into the sky. In the distance, people looked at the pillar of fire in horror, their eyes full of shock. What's that? It seems to be near the Dragon Plains. Is this the appearance of a supreme treasure? Near the Spirit Condensation Mountain Range. Did you hear a sound just now? It sounded like a dragon's roar. Could it be that some powerful boss appeared? Lu Chen looked at 9-winged nervously. He did not know that 9-wing's evolution would cause such a huge commotion. 9-winged looked like it was in pain. It kept spitting fire into the sky, and its body began to expand. Even through its scales and skin, one could see its meridians emitting flames. 9-wings, are you all right? Lu Chen roared. However, 9-wing did not have the chance to pay attention to Lu Chen. His body was still undergoing extreme changes. Suddenly, the skin on 9-wing's back split open, and a section of white bone grew crazily, gradually forming the skeletal frame of a pair of bone wings. Soon after, veins extended from his cracked back and covered his skeletal wings. Then flesh and blood grew and skin covered it. Before long, a new wing grew on Nine Wings' back. The nine-winged celestial dragon had grown a 10th wing. At the same time, Nine Wings' body had also grown by a third, reaching a length of over 200 meters. When the new pair of wings grew out, Nine Wing finally stopped shooting out pillars of fire. It lay weakly beside Lu Chen, its reddish-brown eyes looking weakly at Lu Chen. Nine Wings. Lu Chen hurriedly ran over to check on Nine Wings. Are you all right? Nine Wings shook his head weakly. It seemed like he was fine, but he was just too tired. Lu Chen immediately checked Nine Wings' status. Nine-winged celestial dragon has evolved into 10-winged celestial dragon. Movement speed increased by 150%. When flying, it ignores turbulence and vacuum. At the same time, it adds the status, Dragon Ascension, to the owner, permanently increasing the owner's attributes by 30%. After attributes increase, the owner's cultivation level will not be changed. 10-winged celestial dragon skill. Mount Dragon Aura. Mounts lower than the owner's level cannot fly in front of the 10-winged celestial dragon. Dragon Shadow Storm. When flying, it induces air currents and rides the clouds. It can hide its whereabouts and cannot be seen by the naked eye. Explosive Fire Haste. Increases movement speed by 300% for a short period of time. Duration, 10 minutes. Cooldown, 300 minutes. Raging Fire Dragon Breath. Shoots flames, causing large area damage. Lu Chen looked at Nine Wing. No, 10 Wings' new attributes and was speechless for a long time. After 9 Wings' evolution, its movement speed had increased exponentially, it could ignore turbulence and vacuum, and it could even increase its own attributes? In that case, the attribute benefits for 9 Wings' evolution were even greater than the 300,000 cash redemption coupons. With the addition of the creation bloodline, Lu Chen's attributes were 40% higher than others in the same situation. In addition, 10 Wings' dragon aura had returned. 9 Wings' level was already very high previously. Although it was not considered outstanding, it was still a top-notch mount. It was just not that outstanding. Now that 9 Wing had been upgraded to 10 Wing, when 10 Wing ascended to the sky in the future, the others would be forced to disembark. So powerful! Even Lu Chen could not help but sigh. It was indeed the only mount. Lu Chen leaned in front of the dragon's head and caressed 10 Wing's huge dragon head. He smiled and said, "Looks like I have to call you 10 Wing in the future. Have a good rest here today. Tomorrow we'll go to the River of Forgetfulness." The next day, a black 10-wing dragon flew directly from Spirit Condensation Mountain. Countless people around were forced to land inexplicably. However, they could not see 10 Wing's shadow at all. They could only look in surprise at their various mounts lying on the ground and facing the same direction with their heads lowered as if they were welcoming their king. Lu Chen stood on the dragon's head and felt the strong wind blowing in his face. 10 Wing's speed was much faster than before. Even Tai Shua, which was known for its speed, could not keep up with 10 Wing's speed. After the college opens the teleportation gate, I can give Tai Shua to Lu Yi, Lu Chen muttered. The journey that was supposed to take almost an hour was now completed in less than 20 minutes. Lu Chen had already arrived above the Bridge of Helplessness. In midair, Lu Chen saw that the Bridge of Helplessness was crowded with people. Lu Chen kept 10 Wing and flew to the forest at the side. He then walked out of the forest and appeared in front of the Bridge of Helplessness like a normal player. Coincidentally, there was a large group of more than 500 people in front of the Bridge of Helplessness that was preparing to cross it. So many people? It seems like a few large groups from a certain faction came together. Lu Chen walked past these groups and walked towards the Bridge of Helplessness. A few leaders were discussing. It seemed like Meng Po's conditions made them very conflicted. Meng Po did not rush them. Anyway, for her, she could afford to wait more than anyone else. She only looked at the back of the crowd as if she was waiting for someone. Only when she saw Lu Chen's figure did Meng Po smile. "You're here?" Everyone was surprised. Who was Meng Pa talking to? They turned around and saw a tall man walking over calmly. Lu Chen walked in front of Meng Pa and cupped his fists. Senior Meng Pa. Meng Pa nodded slightly. You're a bit late. Lu Chen sighed. It's not that I didn't want to come earlier, it's just that, it's a long story. He originally wanted to come after passing the 5th layer of heavens. However, he was forced to enter the 6th layer of heavens. In other words, he did not rely on defeating the 5th layer of heaven's domain boss to enter the 6th layer of heavens. This did not match Meng Po's original requirements. Secondly, he established the Demonic Academy as soon as he reached the 6th layer of heavens. He did not have the chance to join the Immortal Academy. The Demonic Academy did not even open the teleportation gate to return to his original world. He could not return at all. How's the underworld now? Lu Chen asked. It's recovering. Meng Pa smiled. Her face was still full of wrinkles. However, this was not the first time Lu Chen and Meng Pa met, so he did not feel that she was ugly. Instead, he felt a sense of familiarity. Lu Chen nodded. Their short conversation ended. Then, both of them looked at the river of forgetfulness under the bridge of helplessness at the same time. Are you ready? The things below might scare you, Meng Pa said. Lu Chen smiled. Actually, there aren't many things that can scare me now. Is that so? You still don't believe this old woman's words. Anyway, be prepared. Lu Chen nodded. Thank you for the reminder, Senior. After saying that, Lu Chen jumped off the bridge of helplessness under everyone's shocked eyes. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.